Hello. Okay, I'll start. Good morning, everybody. Once again, I am Ramesh Verma from Virtual Reality Augmented Reality Association. I just started the Indian chapter here in August last year, and we are growing slowly. Virtual Reality Augmented Reality Association is a global association. We are now present in 50 countries. And we have probably a very strong industry representation of more than 1,000 companies, which specifically into VR, all aspects of VR. We will talk more about that later. First, like to welcome all of you here, in particular, Gita Chaudhary, Rajesh Ji, Lalit. So, some of the participants are coming a bit late for the panels. They will join us here, and then we'll later. Kept the agenda in such a way. In fact, I was very surprised when Rajesh Ji told me that he would not like to be the chief guest. Normally, we will be having good guidance from people like you, and with particularly your technical background. So I thought, it would be very appropriate that you lead the show. And I'm told that you're also an IITian. So that's a rare chance missed by an IITian like me. But, but good. So what we decided was that we will have a small visionary presentation or a talk by Madam, followed by actually a bit more presentation about what is virtual reality, because some of the people might not be comfortable with that. What we're finding is that the biggest challenge in virtual reality acceptance is not being able to know and understand what is virtual reality. So Darshan, who is from our sponsors, and Expedia has been very nice in terms of providing us all the facilities and a team here, and I would really appreciate and thank most of the people who are making this possible to happen. So he will be presenting a bit about what is virtual reality. And there are different forms of virtual reality, which is covered: augmented reality, mixed reality, now immersive realities, haptics. So we'll talk a bit about that. After that, I would give a bit of a talk in terms of what I think are 10 critical things for India. In terms of what are the opportunities, what are the threats. Just cover one slide, but talk a bit more about it. So that is the next program. 10 commandments, as they call it. And then we'll cut the second birthday of the virtual reality day. So we're going to cut a small cake, and she will help us, and she will help us in that process. And then we will also go through a round of the demonstrations which we have set up. Because the biggest challenge in virtual reality is people need to experience it to know what is the difference from whatever has been happening in the past. So that would be the next one. Then after that there will be a piece, and we will then move on to the panels. First panel is headed by Professor Kumar from IIT Delhi, who will be joining us shortly. The second panel by an industry expert who has been from the very early days of the IT boom. Pradeep Gupta from Cyber Media. He has companies which have been running IT for international companies, as well as a large media company. Probably was the first magazine on computers called DataFest. Started almost, I think, 40 years back. So that will be the second panel in terms of what are the opportunities for India, particularly in terms of international collaboration in outsourcing. So those are the two things that we'll finish at the end of the day for a design lunch. Darshan, I will hand it over to you. Sorry.
Sure, thanks. Let me just quick minute. All right. First of all, thanks guys for taking your time out to be here. And I know that we have kind of rushed into the agenda a little bit, the timing of, we are a little off, but we'll try to cover as much as we can. So right now, I actually just wanted to quickly talk about that. Many times when we think about virtual reality or augmented reality, there are so many different debates about which is going to win. Is it augmented reality versus virtual reality? And now in between, we've got mixed reality. But if we kind of put it in perspective and try to understand what these different technologies stand for and what they are trying to solve over here. So instead of debating about the terminologies, I like this actual particular view which Google had presented, and they call it as spectrum of immersive computing. So what we see on the extreme left is the real world as we see it, as we feel it. But as we go towards the right side of that spectrum, we are looking at augmented reality, which is nothing but adding digital objects or virtual objects into your real world, right? But you're still kind of interacting with the real world. Then comes the mixed reality, wherein the virtual objects and the real objects starts to intermingle and start interacting with each other. That would be a definition of mixed reality. And the virtual reality is wherein the whole environment around you is virtual, right? So that's kind of stood out good for me. And then I was like, okay, instead of calling it this and that, it's better to call it immersive computing. That's what we're here for. Now, another thing about this is people keep asking, why do we have to do this? Now, this is another form of computing as we have known it. Like in the past, if we kind of go about it, whenever we make computers to work more like we do, more like humans do, it has always enabled us in terms of our productivity, in terms of the kind of work that has happened, right? So let that be from punch cards to command line to graphical user interface and now to touch. So with each level, we have actually grown the way we interact with computers, and we have become much more powerful in the way we are able to produce content out of it. So, and with VR AR, this is going to even push that even further, that limit. So it's also going to kind of give us access to new kind of information, kind of experiential information that is anchored to the physical. So here, let's look at all the different, again, the terminologies which are thrown and what it really stands for. So again, we have got on the left side, so what kind of type of augmented reality content which is available. So one of the important thing to remember is that the ease of adoption that we see with augmented reality is very easy in terms of you just need a mobile phone and you can start experiencing augmented reality. With mixed reality and virtual reality, you still have a little bit of friction in terms of the having a additional form of hardware that you need to wear. So that be in the form of head-mounted display or like a kind of a glass that is capable of doing augmented reality in front of you. So that form factor also makes a lot of difference, and the kind of content that is required, the kind of technique that is required to build those kind of contents. So that really calls it out over here, and the measurement which allows us to kind of look at the success of these contents as well. However, now as we think about VR, popular to the contrary belief that virtual reality is a totally new technology or something that has just happened in the last few years. But if we date back to its origin, it was in 1968 that Ivan Sutherland actually created the first known virtual reality headset. It was not called virtual reality back then. In fact, the model that you see right now was called Sword of Damocles for some reason. But then what it was a mechanized head-mounted display, which was capable of doing 3D stereoscopic images. It did not have motion tracking. It did not have obviously high resolution graphics or animations that could be seen from that. It was just images. But the idea had been sown back then, right? So it has been such an endeavor, or the journey has taken like 4 decades or 5 decades right now for us to reach where we have reached right now. So with that, I also wanted to just, there was one more milestone which actually happened, which got us really close. So this was back in 1980s and 1990s, wherein the name of the company was Visual Programming Lab, which came out with these virtual headsets, and they called it iPhone, which is an interesting naming convention which they went with. And the logic was like you would have earphones for audio, so you have iPhones for like visual, right? And but it's just that if they would have stuck to the name, maybe Apple wouldn't have ever been able to name their phones as iPhones. Anyway, but it was kind of a disaster in terms of like the product never went to the mass market at all. But for that time, technologically, it was still way advanced. You look at the field of view, which is one of the real considerations when it comes to the immersiveness of the experience. Field of view is what is the angle of the kind of visual the kind of the visual purview that you can get out of it, right? So with the current headsets, with HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, which have a field of view of about 100 or 110 degrees, this one at that point of time was still able to do 90 degrees, which was kind of pretty good back then. But then look at the price. That was so expensive. So anyway, there were a lot of other reasons why this did not work out in terms of the display technology, the resolution, and then even still back then we did not have the way to kind of track the motion, track the head and all of that. But since then, this is the kind of the timeline that we've had, and we have seen progress over a period of time. I would say the real milestone in the VR lifetime would be 2010, when Oculus actually came with the Kickstarter project, and VR came in the mainstream. People started talking about it. And around 2014, we know we bought Oculus, and the rest is history. After that, everybody started jumping on it. HTC Vive came with its own. Then Google Cardboard was another milestone, because that really took the VR content actually to the masses, to the real people, because then they did not have to buy these expensive gadgets or expensive headsets to experience it for the first time. They could just kind of put in a mobile and slot it into the cardboard and then start experiencing 360-degree content. So that triggered it, and then since then we have seen an advent of virtual reality as we know it is out right now. I also was kind of really keen on what was the timeline of augmented reality. So this is also pretty interesting, and one more good call out was that in 2016 we had the Pokemon Go, which again brought augmented reality into the to the public as everybody started knowing it. But augmented reality existed way back as well. Like I remember back in like 2007 or 2008, or sorry, that would be still too early, 2008 or 2009, yeah. Around that, the Times of India had started doing this, of having these content wherein you could just kind of point your camera to it, point your mobile camera to it, and then start getting some animations on that one. So now, as we look into it, still, what is the business value? Where the industry is heading, right? So in 2016 itself, the industry was kind of set up to be $8 billion. And that was more about driven by the hardware sales, hardware manufacture and everything, not as driven by the content. In 2018, we have seen a boom in the kind of content which has come about and the applications of VR into different types of industry. Let that be actual industrial training, let that be education, let that be, obviously gaming is still the primary driving factor for virtual reality, but then a lot of other industries have actually picked up on it. But as we look into the future, 5 years from now, the focus is going to be on e-commerce or commerce in general, right? And there you can see that it's like a 10x increase of where we are currently as an industry. So this is huge, and we are going to be seeing that VR or AR, and my bet is that AR is still going to be a lot more adaptable. So we're going to see that kind of being used a lot more than VR, just for the ease of adoption. But then we're going to see these things, these technologies integrated into our day-to-day life in more and more ways. So the VR landscape and just kind of putting it out there on where, on which kind of industries or which kind of content can use what type of technology or what headset type, right? So you've got the 2D, which is all the, like the photosphere, like the 360-degree images, 360-degree videos, and all of that falls into this category. Over here, you have the high-end immersive content, which is built using Unreal or Unity kind of thing. What are the different types of applications which can happen and where would they fall into this kind of a matrix? You also have the smartphone-based, which is the mobile-based VR, and then you've got the high-end PC-powered VR headsets. So what's next, right? Like, what are the virtual reality trends to watch out for? And this is based on some stats itself. So first of all, though 360 degree, like some of us may argue that, well, we can't call 360 degree as real virtual reality because it's not as immersive. You just sit in a swivel chair and look around and that's basically it. It's not creating that real empathy which a person would have interacting with objects or moving around in that environment. However, 360-degree content is here to stay. In fact, that's kind of the more like a gateway drug for people to engage into a much more immersive VR content going forward, right? So we are going to see a lot more 360-degree videos, images being used for advertisement, for branding, for marketing. So this was actually a research done based on 1,000 plus campaigns in which they have used both the regular 2D images, panorama images, 360-degree images, and regular video versus 360-degree video. And in each of those cases, it was clearly seen that whenever the brands actually went with 360-degree photo, they had 300% more click-through rate and close to about 410% more return on investment. And same thing with video ad measurements, wherein the 360-degree videos were actually having more click-through rates and conversion rates as well. So this is definitely one of the important trends that we're going to continue to see. The second thing is more immersive experience. And this means that as we are pushing the boundary of the technology, we want to kind of see what all it could do more and more. So we have already heard about, there is the voice thing, Alexa, we keep seeing those ads, Google Home, which has actually got into it. But it's even about integrating all of that together with the virtual reality experience. So that's one of the things. So we're going to have a lot of these audio, voice technology, which would be getting integrated. So you don't even have to, maybe you don't even need a controller in the future. You would be able to just talk to a content, talk to within the VR experience and, navigate through all the things that you would need. Then there is the location-based VRs in which there are these specific VR pods which are capable of even immersing you further by creating the right environment for you, right? Like that would be the sense of smell, then even the wind, the heat, the temperature, and all of that, that could be controlled within those pods so that you actually feel that you're really there and not just seeing that you're there. So that's one thing. And this one really excites me more. So this one is based on a brainwave technology, which is fairly new. It's not yet caught up, though I wouldn't say fairly new. It was actually around 2010 or something that I saw a TED talk about it. And that was talking about on brain sensing, brainwave sensing, right? So imagine that you don't even have to talk anymore. Just that the sensors in your brain are able to read your brain waves and are able to identify what are those specific commands that you want to give. Now, it will not be like, it can't be understanding as complicated as the kind of things that we're talking to each other, but at least, yeah, do this, turn right, turn left, trigger, action, whatever. So those are the things which we would be able to train our brain to kind of, or train this wearable sensor that would be able to catch that and pass that information in the virtual reality, right? So, and this one is actually a prototype which has already been built. There's only one company which is called Brainwave VR, which is delving into this, but that is like, if you have to think about maybe 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, that's where this could be heading. And yeah, the third thing is rise in AR, VR developers and user-generated content. And this is wherein I think this group really comes in handy, because we are seeing that a lot of people, at least in other, like in Western countries and other regions, it's becoming the buzzword. People want to know more about it. And there are a lot more developers who are trying to acquire this skill set and learn and kind of develop content around this. So we're going to see the rise in the people or the developers in the space, and also user-generated content. So as more and more it's like becoming, this technology is easily getting accessible at the hands of the normal, common people. They themselves are generating a lot of these content. So a 360-degree camera is like, right now it just hardly costs maybe $100 or like maximum 10,000 rupees, and you could be actually going ahead shooting 360-degree images or videos and uploading it, right? So that's another area that we see that it's going to be rising a lot. And this is again not specific to India. These are some global trends that I was talking about. So with all of that, now the VR AR Association that that Ramesh sir was earlier talking about, right? So we are here to help this region, like in India itself, to kind of I think evangelize what these technologies can bring to the Indian, the talent pool, as well as the Indian companies, the Indian industries, to kind of leverage this technology to kind of enhance their outreach to their customers, right, in various forms or the other. So our mission statement is that it's an international organization designed to foster collaboration between innovative companies and people in the VR/AR ecosystem that accelerates growth, fosters research and education, helps develop industry standards, connects member organizations, and promotes the services of member companies. Now, I'm really a newbie here. I've just kind of joined about 2 months back, VR/AR Association, but as you can already see that I'm reaping the benefits of joining the membership, that within 2 months, I'm able to kind of talk about the learnings that I've had so far, connect with a lot of like-minded people and get knowledge about it, and further, like kind of take the benefits of this, take it back to my work, because I'm actually a product owner of virtual reality and augmented reality within Expedia that we are driving. And I'll be alluding to that a little bit more when we get into the panel discussion on how Expedia is using this in the travel space. But obviously, there are a host of benefits that you get, which Ramesh sir also talked about earlier. What I really like about VR/AR Association is also the fact that there are several committees, right? So there is a committee around education, there is a committee around advertisement. So depending on which committee you're interested in, you can connect with those set of people which are actually doing this for a living right now and learn from them and then imbibe those things into your own work. Another thing is research and events. So you get access to a lot of these events which are happening now. We are at the start of this, so this is just the beginning, but we're going to have more and more events in the future. And as that happens, you would, as a member, you would get free access to it. You would be able to demo your own stuff and even come and be one of the speakers, so that way you could even talk about your work. All right, so that's basically it. With that, we'll move on to the next agenda. If there are any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
At this stage, I requested Rita to give some idea of her vision for there. We are now old.
Good morning to everybody. I'm no longer with government. Now I'm entitled to speak my mind. I'm a judge. So I'm telling you what I think we need in India. The first thing we need is Prime Minister is pushing Ayushman Bharat. It is the, what should you call it, the most necessary scheme which you can have in a country where we spend less than 2% on health. And virtual reality and artificial intelligence can greatly come to our help to push the health agenda of the government. I give you a simple example. We have now in every village a basic health worker called Asha. But the Asha is only trained for 10 days. That's it. Now in 10 days, how much can an Asha learn? She learns a lot, but how much can she actually know? It's mostly textbook knowledge. So when it comes to doing a simple thing like vaccination, this takes some time. You will be surprised that in the first trimesters of a woman who goes to a CHC for a checkup, where she has to get the vaccination, when the Asha does the vaccination, half the time there's a counter. All of you at some time might have had some form of injection which was not correctly put and because of which you were in pain for a couple of days. Now, there is no need for this to happen if we could just get your help. If VR could be introduced at that level, they could actually feel what they are going to do. They could actually understand how to do it. And instead of being told, maybe on a page, maybe by a person, if they could actually do the injecting themselves in virtual reality, the chances of a simple mistake like a counter being made, which seems simple in speech, but which is very painful to the person to whom it is administered, we could get rid of this problem. You know, we have now in India literally lakhs of PHCs. A state like UP has 1,17,000 villages. I'm talking of UP because it has one of the poorest health indicators, but it is the largest state. So if we are going to make a difference in India, we have to look at UP, we have to look at the Bimaru states. We have to look at the fact that they have managed to succeed in bringing down. In 2005, when I was secretary the first time, the MMR was over 100 and the infant mortality rate was about 80. Now it has come down to 45. A substantial improvement. But when you look at the fact that Kerala has a better rate than even the United States of America, only 17, there is no reason why UP, Bihar and the other states can't come to the same level. What we need is assistance from associations like yours, where you can bring these, what is it that affects the mortality, where you can teach it through VR, where the person who is a user is able to easily understand what we are saying. It's not that they don't want to understand. It's simply the difficulty of imagining something, of visualizing something. See, they saw it in space a long time ago. They've seen it in aeronautics a long time ago. You have simulators. Every pilot can sit in the simulator and simulate any difficult situation. Every accident that takes place in the world, the companies then send simulated exercises on those particular areas. When we had a problem in Karnataka, that tabletop airport in Mangalore, then all the airlines were sent simulated exercises if they were going to land at Mangalore on the tabletop airport. We need similar things in health. I'm sticking today to just one basic request. Can we develop VR? I was talking to Lalitji. He was sweet enough to say many other countries have taken this up easily. India doesn't take things up easily. So don't give up so easily. This is my request. Please don't give up so easily.
Every time another center opened last week, one day it clicked part of my heart thing. And we introduced, talk about this only 8 months ago. Why didn't we start? So we are still at it, but I'm encouraged by
what I was trying to tell you before we started was, do not necessarily restrict yourself to government of India. Government of India is the apex. But as I was sharing with my colleague, he doesn't agree with me, but that's okay. We are entitled to disagree. I was sharing with my colleague, in the state, if you manage to get the ear of the state government, and basically that is where implementation takes place, there are far greater chances of getting your ideas accepted. And because of these various India conclaves, if you succeed in one state, then that one state turns out to be a better success model for replication than anything else. If you go to Himachal or you go to Uttarakhand, where there is the greatest deficit of medical personnel, I'm not saying doctors alone, nursing is not available in interior areas. If we can introduce VR in such places, or in Uttar Pradesh where we have a lack of personnel who are willing to go to other places. Number of personnel are available. Please also examine something which I am telling you. On an average, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh have 45-50 medical colleges each. You know the shocking position? Uttar Pradesh has only 11 government medical colleges and about this number private medical colleges. For 1/7 of the population of the country to have less than what even states which are smaller in size than them, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, all put together would probably have a population equal to UP. So if nothing else, they have 150 medical colleges. So we desperately need VR in these states. And I would request you to approach the NHM of the state. Don't wait at Government of India level. Go to the states. Government of India has been kind. It has given discretion to the states that you can use any medium you want. And there is no imposition that you have to wait for Government of India to do something. Many of these state governments are very, very progressive. Go to Kerala. They will take up any idea you have. Don't go to the government in Kerala. Go to Kudumshri. They take up almost anything you can think of and succeed. That is being the nodal agency. Go to Bihar, don't go to the state government again, I'm saying. Go to the women's group. Take up your scheme through them. You will see the change that will come. Please, I know it's not your responsibility, Mr. Gandhi. Maybe I'm happy. Why am I telling you to do everything?
I go to every state when they present in Singapore and there are not many numbers. And I make it a point to be there.
We are not going to Singapore. We're not going to Singapore.
So many states are coming. There's a new thing now.
Singapore coming to you. Please. We don't have that type of flexibility of mind as yet. You will find good states like Maharashtra, Gujarat. They will go to Singapore. Andhra. They will go. But where they also need all this. But where you need it a little more, then one extra mile by you will make a lot. Ramesh ji worked with me in 2012. And though it has nothing to do with this subject, I'm just telling you an experience. There is some feeling that people from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, etc., are lesser in certain fields. We worked in the IT field on this subject, and we managed to persuade TCS to take up any people who had passed out from college 1 year earlier. And you know, TCS Pune, they were able to get sponsored through us, through the department, 550 students. And out of them, 350 got employed by them after a 3-week training. And the remaining 200 were not found fit enough by TCS, but other companies in Pune. My point is, you have to have some programs like this. Total Tata Motors, we persuaded them that look, we have 12,700 people who do a 2-year district coordinator role under the NSS. They offered that if these people are willing to take up Tata Motor selling, at that time they had a new vehicle called Magic. And they said if they are willing to come, we put a condition to have to give them a minimum 2,500 rupees a start, 2012. And incentive for whatever they sell. You know, today they employ 6,500 from those groups who get up to even 1 lakh of rupees. Then we approach Tata Motors. So if we are proactive, both ways we will have to. You are very lucky today to have the DGCB with you, because he controls what you should call the heart of trading. And that's your success. You managed to convince him. I'm convinced VR can really take off, because all of the ITIs, all of the polytechnics can successfully help in upgrading. So I have nothing more to say. I don't know too much. I know this, you can really help. Please start with Ayushman Bharat and wherever else you go. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't realize we have an ambassador for VR. Just requested her last night and I speak my mind. I said that I'm very safe. So thank you, madam. That was excellent direction. And continuing on what she has said, probably one thing which is easiest necessary for India is to look at the education and training of it. And I got about 10 years involvement with the skill development work in the government related projects. And I would point out just three things where we are getting. See, the challenge when we are training fresh students for a skill which gets them an employment is that it is not a class 4 training which is required. It's a hands-on training which is required. Now, hands-on training models which would succeed in Germany and all will not succeed here because they have less number of people to be trained compared to the number of seats which the industry offers training. We have probably a totally skewed ratio is that we're talking about 1:1,000. And also those people who go for training in the industry are most of the time observing. Why? Because traditionally when we are going for an on-the-job experience, we are told what not to do. And we are shown what can be done. And a little bit time we spend learning it. That is where fundamentally there is a failure of skill development. Virtual reality gives you environments where you can learn from failures. And you can learn from actually doing that job rather than observing it. And you can do it at a fraction of this cost. To give you an example, if you were trying to do an aircraft simulator, it probably costs more than an aircraft to develop that simulator. But if you are talking of developing that same environment in virtual reality or mixed reality and giving him a lot more experience in actually running it, probably the cost per candidate would be not even 1,000. It would probably 1/100,000. Because we are talking of big numbers. Germany, US, UK, they are not talking of those numbers to be trained and helped. So I feel the biggest opportunity, and sir, I would address you since you had the training side. The biggest opportunity which we have is to develop simulators which do not necessarily need a person to go to the job for training. He probably does 80% of that in virtual reality. That 80% of that would be not just covering him from that job, it would be covering him for 10 different types of environments. For instance, it could very well covering him for international market, because we can simulate those situations. In fact, probably one of the demonstrations which we have here is on cricket. How you can play cricket in different fields all over the world through virtual reality and through haptics. We requested them to come. It's probably one of the most leading companies in the world right now, totally made in India, and we are very proud to be associated. So those applications in defense, in healthcare, tremendous applications, but the fundamental application is training and education. I remember this morning when I got up, I was thinking, praying, and a thought came to me, Vidya Buddhi Tej Bal, Sabke Bhitar Hoy. So this is where we work, this is where the opportunity exists. And I think I would request that both in terms of government organizations, non-government organizations, educational institutions, this is the biggest opportunity India has. So I'll be taking a session on that a little bit later. So I basically raised just these 10 commandments for us to start thinking, both as government as industry. To share some thoughts with you, China is now very close to and probably surpassing US in artificial intelligence. How long it has taken to do that? Probably not more than 5 to 6 years. And you can imagine the dominance it gives them. You can see that happening every day, the threats which are going on, and the discussions between US president and the Chinese president and Korean president. So that is global leadership. And where is our Indian balance of brain power? Where is that support to get that there? Why is that not happening when we claim that we are the top people so far as IT is concerned because of our brain power? So artificial intelligence is not just one technology. And virtual reality is actually a visualization front end to all these future technologies. Artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, sensors, big analytics data. But the data is so big, you cannot visualize what it means. I was giving a small talk on the smart cities about 2 months back. And I said the people who have got to take a decision about the city, when you say we are making this kind of a change, you can see, you're showing them data and you're showing them graphs. Do they appreciate what it means in terms of the transformation of the city? What it means in terms of transformations of a road, of a village, of road safety, of education. That is the opportunity with visualization, with virtual reality gives you. Then even a person who is non-technologist would be able to take a decision to say, no, this does not make sense. Why can't you do it like this? Because this is how it makes sense. And at the end of the day, we must accept that a lot of our people who take those decisions, both the industry, government, and politics, a lot of those people do not understand technology and they need not, but they will very well understand and experience if you show them that, this road, this stop is not going to take place here because this zebra crossing is not there. Everybody will be able to understand that. How that is coming is because there's a lot of artificial intelligence which is showing you, not in terms of grasp, but in terms of an experience. Try to cross that road. I was also talking from a UNICEF program on road safety. They said, how many of you have actually killed somebody on the road? Because if you're talking of road safety, we need to understand that people can get killed. And if you have killed a person on the road, in fact, there's very surprising, the lady would come from UNICEF, she said, I have had that problem. I asked her a question, will you in any way now drive in such a way which is not safe? Will you not be more careful to protect somebody even if you are right and that person is wrong? That you cannot do in any other way but in virtual reality. You do that 10 times, it's gone into your mind straight. This is the power of virtual reality that we are talking of. This is what we need to bring to people. And as you rightly said, ma'am, in terms of healthcare, in terms of the Ayushman program, the simple thing is, you said, putting the needle right. If that lady is able to do that in virtual reality 10 times, and hopefully the second stage of that, you will also be able to feel if the prick has gone wrong. You're not going to make that mistake. If one of the big problems in healthcare, for instance, is that a patient is not able to communicate to the doctor what is the real problem. The doctor assumes he has understood and he has got that time. A lot of problems take place because of that. So a simple augmented reality system, which on the phone, the patient can explain, "Mere yahan dard ho raha hai," rather than saying कि मेरे पेट में दर्द हो रहा है. The doctor is then able to also show कि अच्छा इधर भी हो रहा है. If that communication is there, it need not be when a person goes to the doctor in real life. It can happen when it's to virtual reality to that embodiment. So this is the change which the opportunity is there in India. And I mentioned some of these points covered. But one thing, we missed so many, apart from one IT boom, India has missed a lot of booms. And luckily, I happened to be part of the IT boom at one time. But you look at the mobile. India is probably the biggest market for mobiles now. But who is making those mobiles which India is buying? Who is making those apps which India is buying? America probably headed the technology, but now America is being challenged with that. Why can't we do that in India? It is a clear indication that we would repeat that loss of that opportunity in India in virtual reality. If we are not ready to take the risks to let people fail and succeed. Our biggest challenge is we have been taught through the education system in terms of make sure that you don't fail. Also make sure that you don't learn. Virtual reality gives you that opportunity to learn by failures. So I think it is necessary for us to focus on just 2 or 3 things: healthcare, education, training. These are our big problems. And through these things, we will create opportunities which are not necessarily on dependence on jobs, but they are looking at the new education, which is in terms of creativity, which is in terms of problem solving. And if our training systems to the youngsters is actually giving them a capability to think, and I think I've gone to more than at least 500 villages in the last 15 years. I don't think there's a shortage of their thinking capability. I think they are very capable of solving their own problems and help us. How do we solve their problems rather than pushing it from the top? So one of the models I think we're discussing with Madam also, we're looking at is a bottom-up household modeling and livelihoods approach as opposed to a jobs approach. This is in any case disappeared. So these are some of the things which we need to get in place, and we would not have 10 years to catch up. Every revolution has reduced the time when that revolution has happened. The mobile revolution, the smartphone revolution is now at a stage that it is waning off. The virtual reality revolution is definitely be more experiential, and that's what I'd like some of you to share, because we got some very good, 3 or 4 very good demonstrations here to actually feel what is the differential which virtual reality makes. We need to concentrate on these things and get moving fast. And let me tell you, one of the big things which VR AR brings is both international industries as well as international academic communities to come together to set up Center of Excellence, to learn from those experiences, to set up experience centers in India, where people learn why we should take it in training, why we should take it in education, why we should take it in industry, because some bits and pieces have been done there. And that can really bloom in India with those collaborations. And we can then give it back to them with the boom which we had in IT. That's all I'd like to say. And I welcome you all. I hope it becomes useful to take it forward. One of the things we have decided is, thanks to Expedia and a couple of our other sponsors, we're going to repeat this every 2 months. And we'll focus on 2 or 3 sectors rather than a general meeting. And we'll focus on the sector which we get some support from people who want to adopt that sector, so that we bring some very relevant experiences. And we would welcome an opportunity at some of the places like at the NSDC or at the ITIs, we can set up experience centers for people to understand. And then you will see the growth of not just learning, but in terms of entrepreneurship, the huge growth which can take place and benefit their country. With that, I will close. I will not go to the formalities of a thanks or something right now, but we have a small formality of cutting a cake with Rajesh ji will help us and Madam will help us. Right? So, and after that, we'll take a round of the demonstrations. Then the 2 panels. Sudhi is already here from my today. Panel, and Pradeep has just left from there to the panel right now. Thank you. Okay. He's telling me that I don't let other people speak, so opportunity for questions. Thanks. Please.
Hello, I'm Engineer A.K. Srivastava. Incidentally, I happened to work with Anita Chaudhary. She was at UP Special Secretary Housing, working with Mr. Mathur. And thank you, ma'am. We know, understand your capability that you are so aggressive. Later on, I went to the Financial Management and then the private sector, and at present I am Vice President of the Untitled University. Madam is talking about education, and Mr. Ravi is also talking about education, and probably we have an easier on the beginning notes. Let me tell you one thing very, very frankly. Something is changing, and something is changing very, very fast. Initially, there was, we understand that education provides the knowledge. Then structured information, sorry, it is wrong. If you want knowledge, probably you Google and get that structured information very easily than sitting to the classroom and listening. This is the era of skill to apply that knowledge. The right type of attitude. And then we enter into a lot of competencies instead of knowledge alone. So what we're talking about. So the skill to apply has become very, very important. And when we come to the skill to apply, not only at the lower level, at the higher level, we also understand that we have entered into industry 4.0 era. So there is a need for education 4.0, training 4.0, classroom 4.0. So what we have done, we have collaborated with the industry. For example, if you look at the automobile sector, we are talking about AR/VR technology. So Tata Technologies, we collaborate with the Tata Technologies, set up a lab there, AR/VR lab. And you'll be surprised to know, Ramesh, are you aware? So Tata Technology has already set a VR lab at Amity University, and engineering students are learning those, AR/VR lab, and the result is fantastic. It is correct that we must learn more from failure than success. When the student apply, make a car, demonstrate the car, keep the car running, and if it doesn't start, they learn a lot. Why does not start? They innovate. Then they come with something new technology. Suppose they are working on a simulator. They find that their plane crashed because something went wrong. Now they explore what went wrong. And with the AR/VR technology, there is immersive learning. You yourself learn. You learn a lot. The gaming. You learn a lot of playing. These of AR/VR technology is here. We started the experimentation. Engineers are going to train with that. And it has to be taken to the masses. So I offer being the education for this.
I would suggest that if we can have a quick round of introductions, then we can.
Thanks, Ramesh, for inviting and association. I think I'm not going to talk too much about, even in my session, about value and use, because everybody seems to be, and particularly with your word, I think it's business case or use case is clear that it is needed and it's needed. I think what I like to put it in a simple way, and I think I will be able to show one center video which just got opened 3 days ago in and what it does. And I would say that we are almost making what Ramesh is talking about, association, make it happen. So that center is the physical entity to create an ecosystem of variety of devices, not just head-mounted devices, but even large factors. So it's a 500 square meter area. And then what would you like to have this kind of meeting take place in that center? Because wherever 20 countries, where we have 25 countries now, where we have created this center, Eon's goal has been to create an ecosystem. We are a software company to create content and then integrate devices from all kinds of devices. And we have been doing that for the last 20 years. And that's why centers exist in China, Taiwan, Mauritius, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, France, everywhere. And goal is to then connect those centers to our India center. Our vision is to create an India center and invite everybody to participate, content creators, the device makers, some devices made in India, all that to make it happen, and also bring out all that library which has been used. The heart is a heart is a heart. So there's a lot of stuff built in Australia Deakin University for the hard model using that. We bring it here. Likewise, a diesel engine is a diesel engine created for Ethiopia, can be brought in. Indian languages can be created. But by creating this center, and all 20 plus countries we have worked with government. So, with all due respect, to go to others, but the reason why we want to work with a center like that, otherwise it will become a desperate, disparate legacy one. There's no common standard. So our goal, our vision, which we had discussed with the minister, and we are working with them to partner with, not just for the finance, we pay 80%, etc., but more importantly, that brain power we talk about, that initiative that NSDC and the sector council, etc., have, so that we can create a unified approach and hence content created here. Of course, states can then create a satellite, but connected with that. I mean, some of the things when we say, I mean, I also come from IT background. I spent 30 years at IBM, and I was in and out of India. I found one thing that we could have done a lot more in IT. While we call ourselves a success story from an IT service industry, yes, but from applying IT industry across the whole country as users, as manufacturing, as banking, I think we missed out big time. While that required a lot more brain power, which we have plenty. So I feel that I agree with you. My passion, my feeling is that do we want to miss this? Do we want to only be user of that worldwide created technology, or can we be the creator of this technology with the world use? And I think with that, this particular association playing a fantastic role, because you're creating an ecosystem, collaboration among various types of players, because you need devices, you need content, you need platforms, you need language, you need trainer, you need assessment. I mean, not training is required, but you need to have assessors sent to the 600 districts, maybe with this. So I think we are all very clear, but I'm really interested, excited. What do we do to make it happen? So my gut feel is that everybody wants to do something, but can we make it happen in a way that we can take this opportunity and explode it, rather than do it piecemeal approach? So with that, thank you very much.
My name is Sunil Chaturvedi. Reminding that I hold the thing of being the first CEO of the first sector council in India. So my tenure got ended just very recently. But these are areas which have been of great personal interest to me. And I totally agree with whatever I has just said in terms of seeing the bus and not to miss the bus again on the other side. And also what the man mentioned about working with states, because a lot of the time the scale that India has, the wherewithal and resources are only at the government level. I was talking to him before this session started. I said the time has come for the learning industry also, where market forces start to take over. Till now, it's been predominantly, overwhelmingly government-led and supported by, and it has served the purpose beautifully. It has percolated the idea, disseminated the information about what skilling is, why it's important, standards, and everything has been done. But at the moment, we are just in the same orbit. There's a need to cross the orbit to the next level, and that can happen only when the market forces take over. So some of the things, maybe with the help of state governments, as ma'am mentioned, but also some of the private enterprise will really need to come up and seize the opportunity. So there are many ideas. Educate, like you mentioned, Shobji, that it's not just Industry 4, which is manufacturing industry. I think in all areas of our existence, whether it is healthcare or education or even agriculture, there is huge opportunity. So I couldn't agree with you, Matt, that India really lives in the villages and operates out of states. So states are so much more important, and this particular regime has always empowered them more. In our own experience in the education skilling spaces in Kerala, you mentioned that they 2 years and they were kind of picking my brains, and I was willingly letting them pick that for nearly 2 to 3 years. But after that, they set up this asset. And asset is the single biggest success story in terms of skilling at the state level in India. And that came from Kerala. Because the reason that they are very willing to adopt and take things forward. So same can't be said about other states, but again, as you said rightly, that once we have a model which is successful, then replication becomes easy. At least we have a brand ambassador for you. Many states actually are following now the Kerala model. So same could apply to Ayushman. And I was speaking to Raman before the session started. I mentioned exactly the same thing. The healthcare, I think, is a huge opportunity and also a need. Strictly the need point of view. So how expertise can be taken to masses in a virtual world? Expert doctors, for example. Diagnosis is a big issue. It's a big industry, but a big issue because it doesn't solve any problems. It's only providing opportunity of revenue generation to the diagnostic center, but not so much in terms of actual analysis. And I think we are taking care of it. So there are many such interesting things. Good luck for the session.
My guru is here, my Delhi, my Anand.
That's all I'm going to say. Already said, I'm supposed to run to decide the department I can. And which? Yeah, I was a student there, 1987 to 91. And instead of taking time, I would rather. I think we're running quite late. Yeah. And I'd like to push this along.
I have a request from I think we've got 1,000 crores for excellence. And
That's all of it.
no, sir.
It's virtual.
No, it's virtual. You need to make it actual. You all need to set up something in
Of course,
your.
we are going to do that. I'm saying that the money is there.
No, that is virtual. Government of India wants to commit cities. At the moment, it may look virtual.
I know.
Right. So, first of all, what a pleasure to be here in the company of some very esteemed people here. My name is Raman Talwar. I'm the CEO at Similanis. We at Similanis are building virtual reality content for industrial training use cases, pretty much working across industries like pharma, auto, automation, oil and gas, FMCG. And we've had some great success stories so far. Rajesh ji is here. Of course, I would love to talk more about the skilling work which you've been doing for a long time and trying to kind of work at the grassroots level. And I believe, and of course, since you're running short of time, I'll just end it at that we are for education and training, yes, it's a very important use case. I think what Meeta ma'am also mentioned, I think the biggest thing which you need to understand and focus is the impact which it can create. And I think if you can measure impact at the ground level, that is possibly the biggest achievement of any technology or VR for that matter. So in the panel discussion, probably I'll talk about that as well. I think this poises it very nicely for that talk.
You have some examples in the station.
Why I'm saying this may sound very stupid, but the poultry sector,
Yes.
vaccination, a day-old chick needs a vaccine, and on the 8th day you need a vaccination. Virtual reality could work out in Bastar. We tried one experiment in 2003. The tribal children who didn't have much education, there's a Rajiv Gandhi center over there. We requested them to take up training of vaccinators. They did the training, and you know, the mortality rate used to be 80% in poultry. These children took up this vaccination and the rate decreased to 20%. Then they developed a business model. Their parents would buy the chicks, they had no money. Parents were not interested or didn't know how to raise the chicks. So they were taught this day-old vaccination, 8-day vaccination. They entered into a formal agreement with their parents that they'll raise the chicks now. And now 80% are surviving. So the 60% extra which is surviving, they would share them 50-50 with their parents after 3 months when they would sell them. And they were raising a variety called Kadaknath, which is supposed to be very, very high iron content. And that particular poultry used to sell at that time for 150 rupees per bird. These little children, they turned out to be pioneers. Today, they have taken this to Odisha. They travel 120 kilometers away and they do the vaccination through a very simple method. They took the pan wala into confidence, and the pan wala, whoever wanted a vaccination, they used to write down the name at the pan wala's shop. In the morning, they would pay 1 rupee per entry. So pan wala used to get 10 to 15 entries per day on that list. You have to do nothing. Just give the list to the vaccinator. You get paid 10 or 50 rupees. At that time, 10 or 50 rupees and additional 450, 500 rupees a month. Bastar meant a hell of a lot of money. And suddenly you will find in that area, it was totally poultry deficit. They managed to get about 6,000 families to earn their livelihood through this. So Odisha, Chhattisgarh have been very interesting experiences. But if we had VR, the deaths that do occur because of wrong vaccination, I'm coming back to a very small item, they could be greatly helped. Now you take just your stubble burning. Have you ever thought, why nobody burns stubble in South India? I mean, you grow more paddy there. Why does this crisis not come there? We should think about that. Simple answer is, the only stubble available there, they don't have wheat stubble. Wheat stubble forms 88% of the bhusa, which is given to animals. The paddy stubble causes the animals to have childbirth incidents. That is why farmers are not willing in North India to give paddy stubble to their animals. What have they done in the south? They have grown a Hawaiian form of babur, which they call subabur. And on the farmland, they lop off that and they mix this bhusa with 50% of that green matter. And suddenly, this problem of abortion which takes place doesn't take place. So none of us have been able, unfortunately, to connect why in a place where more paddy is grown, stubble burning doesn't take place. And it only takes place basically in 2 states. These are richer states. So they don't have an issue. But what happens when you burn stubble? Forget the immediate environmental issue. You need 80% more water in the next crop. Because as we say, nami sari khatam ho gayi. If you did no-till ferticide drill, you would have two irrigations done simply because you would be using a new irrigation pipe. Doesn't happen. Your people are needed in agriculture, I think, more than after health. Number 2 in agriculture. You have to get somebody for agriculture.
We also introduced Pradeep Gupta, founder of the Cyber Media Group. He's also in the second panel.
Okay. So Pradeep Gupta from Cyber Media, which publishes DataQuest, BCQuest, the various IT publications. So I think stop at that and perhaps later on.
He's hiding the fact that it's an alien investor also. And he's hiding the fact that he's not very successful in IT export. Okay,
I celebrate my birthday twice because I was born on Diwali, so I celebrate my birthday first on Diwali, 10 days back. Then on 12th November, I had top of kids, another one. This is the second birthday of your association, so best people.
all your ages is
Will have.
He's also from IIT.
and what they did is, so I also.
They have got all the people from IIT. They are all bilingual. Yeah. I think we'll break for a quick tea. After that, we can start the.
Recording has done.
Big order of really long way.
Uncle.
Only a driver can. They should not drive. I see the request to body. Somebody from DRDO is working for VR. They are here.
DRDO is done nothing that.
Sean from MIT. We are planning to supply the technology to not virtual reality, it's a true reality.
Good to know that you will, of course, 10 years later, but every average job 74 to 70. हम सभी सीख रहे हैं आप करते हैं हाँ लेट चलोगे आप आपको जल्दी जाना है अभी बस स्टार्ट करते हैं ग्राउंड व्हाट वी कैन डू द डेमोन्स्ट्रेट स्टार्ट तो हाँ पैदल करवाएंगे डेमो करते हैं ये आपका डंडा क्या चले जाओ हाँ सभी सीख रहे हैं
We are now able to collect 55 national maps where we have represented quality maps. That's an opportunity I'm creating as part of the project. Some people from here for some they can use that map. Let's say we people by making which are like Google and actually adopt the process of standards. हर स्टेट में एक एज ए डेमो कौन सा करता है इंडस्ट्री आ जाएगी सब जैसे बता रहे कि एनपी के अंदर टाटा टेक्नोलॉजी लगा के और इंडस्ट्री में फर्स्ट राइट जो बंदे निकल के आएंगे आपने सेटअप करा है या पूरा करे और सबसे पहले लोग राइट ऑफ यूज बाकी मेरी केस इंडस्ट्री में ब्लॉग होंगे और में से 800 लग गए 4 पे लोग When I told, I think I told you to make a model for this. And in other papers, you can have people like
Hello. Hello.
I think
there is a small change in the program. We're trying to bring forward the panel discussion rather than going through the rounds at demos. We can do that later. So, Subodhji, I would like you to come over and join if this is comfortable.
Yeah, of course, I will. So, basic processes क्या है? Find the process and control it. Special nuances के लिए बहुत एक्सप्रेशन करते हैं. अगर आप इस तरह से आप समझते हैं कि abstract में जनरल मार्केट हमेशा पीछे चलती है. यूएस के अंदर डिफेंस सेक्टर नहीं चलता है या आपको बढ़ने जा रहा है बट टिल सच टाइम इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर नहीं मेरी इसके लिए कभी माइंड में आए मैं नंबर कार्ड तो मैं भी आ रही यूज नहीं कर रहा बोल क्या आप अपना बताओ मैं आपको मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे कर देना 9999 आपके जो अग्रवाल में इनके उनका खाली जी है उसका ये जी आ रहे हैं मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ भाई कौन से आपका हमारे लिए बहुत वो उल्टी सीधी वो मेल्स क्रॉसिंग आ रही है बहुत क्रॉसिंग हो रही है ये मेरा है और आई विल व्हाट्सएप नहीं बट इट डजंट एंड एट डबल जी इसके बाद में उसके बाद ए आता है या आर से शुरू होता है वो भी एक कंफ्यूजन है इसके अंदर हसीन होते हैं डबल जी ए आर तो आपका आई थिंक वो पंजाब से बैकग्राउंड लगता है लेकिन जो इधर वाला है वो आर पर चलेगा कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया में था अच्छा 2003 to 7 I analyzed voters list claims of 70 crore people अगर must be the largest even including AGERVEN.
Yes? ये भी होगा. One of those 38 is
और ये
that.
भी एक दो लोगों का नहीं, I took only जहाँ 1000 से ज्यादा लोगों का.
Minimum 1,000 guaranteed.
Minimum 1,000.
Which is large enough. India is a country. So you are, if I'm not mistaken, you are an additional secretary level.
I'm additional secretary now. I'm got DG training or whatever.
तो शारदा प्रसाद जी थे मेरे. Maybe another nuances of that.
Yes, sir. I already tested all are made. They must go for open source.
अभी Amazon Kolkata. तो
Whatever we have to revise, we have to make it alive. Make music.
आपका नहीं रियलिस्टिक वाले नहीं करना था कोई नेक्स्ट थिंग
All right, so welcome to the panel discussion on why enterprises and government should invest in VR. They alike should adopt VR, and what's the business case and return on investment. Some of it has already happened in the morning, so more of it. And just quickly introduce the panelists. Sunil Chakravarti, Darshan Rana, Arvind Yagnik, Raman Talwar, and Stafford Michael, who is not sitting. I'll hand the floor to panelists, but before that, I thought I'll start off again by quoting, and all of these, I've got just 4 or 5 quotes from last 4 months at various places. Alan Greencard is a VR industry business analyst who says that VR is drawer. It's a thing that you buy, play with for a couple of days, and then put it in a drawer. Forget about it. So the question is, how correct he is what we were to figure out. But at the same time, CCS Insight is a business banking, not just VR. All kinds of business analysis. They say that 22 million VR and AR headsets are going to be sold by the end of the year. And this was predicted, I think, in June, about half of it can already happen. They're also saying that 120 plus million will be sold 3 years from now. So if this indeed drawware, there's going to be a lot of drawers made. Store them. But at the same time, there are a few others who are saying VR is going to revolutionize architecture. That's John Burchard, the CEO of architecture, an architect. VR. So you'll see a mix of is revolutionizing and will revolutionize. So there's a lot of will still. That's why the broader comment has come about. VR will revolutionize physical therapy. So in the healthcare industry, in fact, there's a lot of people I know in India, a lot of healthcare professionals, particularly in physical therapy space, and somewhat also in psychotherapy space. They're adopting VR already. And this comment is by a physical therapist who is using it. And finally, VR will, and these are, although I have not put in quotes, the actual statements made by these people. VR will revolutionize science classes. That's from Michael Vertical, who's an educational entrepreneur, create science products, education products, science focused, but generally education. So with that mix of whether it is or it isn't yet, I'll hand over to the panel and I'll request first analyst Sunil Chaturvedi to take over.
Thank you, Subodhi, and good afternoon, all the participants here. But I think it certainly is a new frontier. And we talk of expertise in this area. I certainly am not an expert. I believe that all of us really are. I think this field is emerging at the moment. And but there are indications already, emerging trends we can draw from, look at. I believe that it is not going to be standalone AR/VR, but it's part of a larger industry floor. We have IoT, the 3D modeling, the data analytics, all those things which will be kind of working hand in hand together to usher this new area. Of course, there are examples of this AR/VR applications that are emerging, and they are not just from the industry domain. They cover pretty much every aspect of our life. Whether it's healthcare, as was mentioned earlier, or education, or any other services also, including agriculture, going forward. There is huge opportunity, or at least possibilities in every area. But if we talk of just industry for the moment, I think already there are indications, references that AR/VR is being talked of as the communication language of engineers. Just like when we were growing up back in the late 70s or early 80s, graphic science used to be called a language of engineers and has remained for a very long time. AR/VR is now being talked of as the communication language of engineers. And the example of that is that using AR/VR technology platforms and techniques, engineers are able to communicate with each other more effectively in real time, but they are also able to simulate areas of their designs, plans, whether of product or of processes, whereby there is a possibility of preemption of not many errors that might creep in. If you have to go through a normal conventional way of prototype development, an actual setup of manufacturing lines, product being developed and tried, tested. So which means that you're able to make a second or third version of product ready without going through those stages vis-a-vis the conventional area. So whether it is product design, for example, you simulate so many different conditions of any product when it is applied to whether it is a car or a tool or machine from the real life conditions, that all the variables that it is going to be experiencing in real life are simulated. Engineers are able to put their designs up for discussion with teams, cross-functional teams, were able to comment on that and thereby refine their products or processes, devices, even programs, and even before it is taken for commercialization. So that's the power of this technology of platform, which is already being used. As things progress, I think it is not going to be restricted to only the design and manufacturing shop floor, but increasingly in the selling, advertising industry is going to be using it in a big way. Also in selling, already Tesla sells cars pretty much using a lot of AR/VR. So they don't look anywhere like what the conventional Ford or GM or Suzuki showrooms look like. They are like a virtual world in which you are. And so therefore, it doesn't remain only in the manufacturing shop floor, but also goes to the sales and then the after-sales service. Now, one of the important areas which AR/VR supports tremendously is taking experts to where they are needed. I mean, experts is a commodity which is so rare by the very definition of somebody being an expert. And it's so difficult for taking each of those limited commodity of experts to where they are needed in remote areas. But this is where this technology is really helping, where anybody who has an expertise in a given area, let's say, carrying on with the theme of automotive. So you have these experts who are able to diagnose faults beyond just what our software of diagnosis can. and such people are rare. But given this tool in their hand and also at the receiver's hand, and the system is integrated, and wherever he is sitting, he can provide his expertise to the people who are acquiring it on the spur of the moment, in real time, and as effectively almost as if he's available there physically. Now, what's missing today is, of course, it's mostly visual. That you don't have the feel, touch, and other things. As Raman was mentioning earlier briefly, that increasingly technology is ushering in new areas where other senses are also being brought to play. That you could create, these smells and odors coming through just by touching a button, which recreates an environment of workshop. Or the sounds, the way you see sound, hear sound in a workshop, those are simulated. Which means that it's not just visual, but increasingly it's becoming encompassing or engulfing other senses also. So making it more and more real. So those are the areas of applications which are emerging very fast. And when we say experts, it's not just expert in any area. Man mentioned earlier about the doctor, shortage of doctors. Again, the same thing. There is an expertise. That expertise is so difficult to reach out to where it is needed. This is the area where when they are brought on the platform, we reach out to many large number of people who they will require. So these are some of the initial thoughts that I have on this area. As always, the manufacturing and automotive industry is always at the forefront of adoption of any technology. So is the case with this, just like it happened with automation, robotics. Now here we are in Industry 4.0, IoT, 3D, and everything. Our industry is right at the forefront of adopting these technologies. But like I said, that others will follow suit before long, and perhaps with more, much more effect. The socio-economic impact of that can be much more than what we can have. There is another thing that I thought I should mention here. And I think there is a lot of excitement about it, but there is also, I think, anxiety as to what the future holds for us. And also there is confusion about how you define it. So your graphic in the morning I saw, the two half triangles next up with each other were talking about what is real and what is. It was very good. But another place where I heard years back, I was chairing one of these panels where somebody used, and I'm just calling that. He said that the two can be looked at this way, that in one case, you are bringing the world to us, whereas in VR, we are getting transported to the world. That's the way two things are getting defined, broadly speaking. With these initial words, I'll just respond if there are questions. Yeah, well, I mean, you could, there is just give an example of, there is a small clip how one of the automotive industries is using VR programs. You get that? Very short clip.
If you think about designing a product, we have thousands of knowledge and students. How can we efficient and positive The HoloLens helps me receive 3D designs full scale on top of production vehicles.
Recording started.
Let's move on. Would it make sense to not have the audio?
Yeah, that's a short clip. Do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Avoid it.
The sound is getting augmented.
Visualize this one. As you can see that a new prototype is being developed. It was designed, people exchange over different teams. They talked about it, shared their experiences, refined it, and even the prototype development is happening in a virtual world, which means that you're not dealing with those intoxicating materials, hazardous goods, things like paints, welding processes, all of those iterations of several rounds of, going through the process of refining different versions, all that is eliminated. And maybe almost 70–80% of refinement has taken place in the virtual world before you hit the real field. That's what is happening. And by the way, in again, just carrying on examples, simulation has been used just like in aircraft pilot training. In driver training, we have been using it for a very long time in our industry. There are, if you see, some 400 odd locations in the country which are run by Maruti outlets across the country where they use simulators for training the driver. So again, you are simulating all the conditions of various road situations which the driver has to go through. So like somebody gave an example in the morning that when you kill somebody, then you won't repeat. Now it's better to kill in a virtual world rather than the real world. So that's the power of this. And when you kill virtually 10 times, 20 times, without actually killing, you are so much better off being on the road rather than without killing. So that's the and similarly all other hazards, welding, casting, forging, which are so difficult to train, painting, hazardous materials, odors, expensive equipment. So all those, at least 80–90%, if not 100%, you can't really completely replace the real world, but at least 70–80% you can replace, and also expedite the time, and also reduce the cost, whatever we want. I think this is here to stay. I think the infrastructure availability and availability of expertise in-house in the companies is really the constraint today for adopting it in a faster way. Once that happens, once we reach inflection point, they're predicting maybe in 3 to 5 years' time, when we reach that inflection point, where there will be enough people and enough of basic infrastructure available, it's going to take off in that reverse hockey kind of curve, which is 3 to 5 years with the expectation. Thank you very much.
Let's thank the speaker. We're running a little behind, so if there are 1 or maybe 2 pressing questions. Usually there is a quick question specific on this that I'll allow, and then a general discussion at the end. If there are no questions, then I'll just move on and ask Darshan to take next slide.
Yeah. So first of all, I have been engaged with the VR content for last 2.5 years back, so I've been more of a consumer of VR content. But it's only in the last about 5 or 6 months that when Expedia was kind of getting into this, and we had more like an experiment pod which was set up, and we had developed something in the VR space. But then we thought that, okay, now given that this is becoming a kind of little mainstream right now, what can we offer our travelers, right? And that's wherein we actually went and made a little bit more investment. So not that we have a huge team. So I'm more like a product owner for augmented and virtual reality initiative, which is happening within Expedia. And our goal is to actually grow brand affinity, so grow Expedia brand affinity among our travelers, and provide the best travel VR experience to our travelers. Right. So with that goal, we have set out right now. We have built a couple of experiences that we can showcase to our users. Currently, it's all high end. So, but before I delve into that, I also wanted to make sure that you have a little bit more context on what Expedia Group is. So, Rashia, if you can go to the next slide. Go to the present group. Okay. Yeah, so Expedia brand is, I'm not sure if everybody is familiar, we may not have done a great job of marketing ourselves in India, but we are the world's travel platform. We are one of the first brands which people go to whenever they want to shop online. Currently over here for you, most of you, it must be Make My Trip or GoIBigo or Yatra. But then the same is true when it comes to the global market. And in case if you have searched online or shopped for travel online, then you would have definitely come across some of these brands like hotels.com or Trivago, the Trivago man, right? Very popular. So all of these are actually our brands, and we have roughly about 200 plus travel booking sites in 75 countries. So this is more about just to give you the scale and the overall scope of Expedia as we are. Next. So now when we were thinking of VR and AR and trying to fit it into our traveler journey, and this may easily mirror into any other company or any other brand which is trying to work on a customer journey or else has an e-commerce presence and then trying to solve for it end-to-end journey of your customer. So we have built a map like this wherein for a traveler it starts with the dream phase, wherein people are kind of thinking about okay where they want to travel next. Then it goes into the search. That's where in the planning and the shopping happens. Then is the booking experience, and then they end up buying, and then they are in trip and experiencing the actual travel, and then they start sharing, right? So we wanted to see where all in the whole traveler journey, where all we can fit in virtual reality and augmented reality. So the most easiest one, the most easiest one was the dream phase, obviously. And that's the current focus which we are currently working on. But we do want to close this whole loop by saying that if we could have a completely immersive shopping experience for a traveler and which they can even take it during their travel. So it's not like they would have to carry the headset or something, but they could continue the experience on their mobile using the AR. And then once they come back, they can share those experiences with their friends and family members and again start dreaming of the next destination by using our VR content. Right, so with that, I'm just going to play some demos of the things that we have built. It's going to be a very quick teaser, and then later on, when we open up for the demos, you'll be able to actually immerse yourself in these experiences yourself over there. So this is the iconic Space Needle in Seattle. It also has a bungee jump that you could do from that high. And that's wherein we see people actually kind of, losing their balance. It's really fun to see that. So I'm really curious on what happened to you guys when you tried this out. The next one is a cave experience in Mexico that we have built. These are more like destination content. These are cenotes wherein you have these water bodies under cave. Really beautiful to go there for real. to catch the turtles, but you could even swim with the huge turtles there. Yes, so with these experiences that we've built, it's freely available on Steam platform and Viveboard. And so the whole idea was that like for travelers who have not been to these places, for them to get a glimpse of what it would be like to be there. And that should excite them to go for real to these places, right? And that's the connection that we're trying to make. Even one of the things was, okay, what is the return on investment, or what's the business case behind it, right? So we are hoping that by providing these content, we would be able to tie these users back into our shopping sites and get them on board and make them book with us. We in fact even did a marketing campaign around this, wherein we offered $10 coupon, which was kind of a somewhere hidden in the whole experience, so that people will walk around it and they can get to know that, and they get that $10 coupon experience. This is in fact, I would say, the vision that we have on where we want to go. This is one of the brands within Expedia which has done this. So let me start with that. And this is more related to the properties that you can actually shop with us. This particular thing was to solve for people who are booking vacation rental properties. So if you are aware of Airbnb, wherein it's not a traditional hotel property, you're actually going to be staying in somebody else's house, but you're not sure what the layout will be like, right? So with this, you'll be able to inform our users before they go that what it's going to be actually like to be there. And even complete that whole experience by hooking it on the platform itself with an VR. Yep, so that is what Expedia is trying to do and venture into this technology. There's a lot of scope. I think one of the things which we've realized, which has been a learning for us, is that it's not just about two-man or three-man job. We need a lot of people to kind of come together for it, and that is also job opportunity creation, right? Like earlier in a regular kind of application that we built, we would just need a developer, we would need a product manager, or all of that. But over here, we need 3D artists, sound artists, and even creative directors and all of that, because it's also about storytelling. Because it's not just about you shoot a 360-degree content, but there's always that thing about where the user is going to focus. So we need to kind of create the story around on how we want the users to kind of continue their journey within the VR experience as well. So those are some of the key learnings that I've had, and then I've realized that I need to connect with a lot more people to understand.
Thank you, Darshan. Quick question? Yeah, go ahead. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Vicky Raja. I'm just a visitor. I'm from IT Delhi. What I see here is a threshold to work on AR, VR technologies is basically developing the content. What I see here, it's fantastic. It's a lot of texturing being done, a lot of 3D modeling is being done. So what I was thinking, it's just an idea. I've worked with depth sensors like velodyne sensors, LiDAR sensors, so you must be aware of it. You're from automotive industry. So is it a way that we can just capture the depth data and capture the 3D information and then just do texture mapping on our 3D model? So that leap, that threshold of creating this kind of content may ease down a bit, and then we can have a storytelling experience and specific to storytelling experience. So my idea is to basically combine the LiDAR data or some depth sensor data with the texture, with this by doing the texture mapping, and then give a boost to the AR VR experience. Is that possible? Is that something that we can explore?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few companies which are kind of doing that, wherein you can just kind of keep any object, they will take that and convert it into a 3D model much easier than actually somebody really coding it. So that does exist, but it's not at scale right now. We have also seen Apple with ARKit 2.0, they have kind of come across and like try to do this, wherein even a normal user could just take their phone and then capture the, using the regular camera and convert that into a digital object. And as that happens, then you're right, like it will ease the whole process of developing those things and just fitting that into the virtual world and getting that done. And apart from that, there are marketplaces for 3D assets. So it's not like we had to create all of that by ourselves. For many, we just went and kind of looked at the marketplaces wherein people have already put those 3D assets, and we just had to download that. Some of them were even free, and some of them we just purchased it, modified it to our liking, and then kind of integrated into the experience.
So what I was suggesting is basically any new property in your industry, in the hotel industry, a person should go from Expedia should go and take a sensor or put a velodyne sensor type of a sensor on a drone, walk it through the building and or inside the alley, take the 3D information and then later map it to do the texture mapping. So you will have a basic thing, and then you can buy these or download these assets and put a table through that board.
That's a good idea. At IT Delhi, we have worked a lot on that kind of stuff. It's much easier said than done. None of the hardware sensors like LiDAR, laser scanner, even Connect, will give you noise-free data. So there's a lot of post-processing that's required on it. But there are a lot of researchers still working on that problem of essentially creating a 3D camera. You take photos, but you create 3D models, essentially.
Right, I've worked on Connect sensors, I've worked on stereo cameras. So right now, I'm not saying that it will be very noise-free. I'm not saying it will give you a...
No, let's take further discussion offline. But what I'm saying is because there's other side of it where, like the 360 VR, where images themselves become the model. And that's all you have. With that, let's the next speaker.
I want to talk about training and education and AR VR. And my training and education, AR VR at scale, ends at scale. So as Ramesh pointed out, and I feel that the AR VR biggest beneficiary, if there could be one, at this stage, it could not be anybody other than India, especially with Skills Ministry focused to train 400 million people. So I will, again, the second one, I would say that instead of me talking about for my last 3 years of immersive experience, when I've been immersed in this technology, this immersive technology, I would rather use the old adage that a picture tells 1,000 words than a video 1,000,000 words. So I'll use so that I don't only talk about my 3 years of experience, but the global experience of the company right now I'm associated with, called Eon Real, which is a VR company. I've been working for last 20 years only in training and education. Unlike most of the 99% focused on, who had been focusing on entertainment and media, this is the one focused on that. So I'll jump on it. But before I do that, I talk also a little bit about, because wearing a funny hat, I'm just trying to, a bit head challenge, so I cover it myself so that I don't, otherwise also I find rude to wear a hat in indoor. The option I'll continue wearing that. My background, I also, like all of us, left India early on, 70s, then had a chance to come back for 6 months to set up IBM's Global Innovation Center for India market. And that became an innovation center. Again, NCR always plays a big role. Started out creating the first footprint at IIT, where IBM had a little center. And then finally our building got created only 2 kilometers from here in phase 1 of DLM. But that goal was to usher in internet economy. And the kind of discussion we are having today, most people were saying, why do we need to move away from client server? So I understand every time there is a new technology potential, but it takes a lot of time. But that's where the center played a role. It created ecosystem and brought industry, academia, everybody, and that's what that center role was, to bring in kind of content. So yeah, I came for 6 months, but ended up spending 10 years physically in here, and last 8 years I've been spending 50% time in India. Every month I come from Singapore with one-way ticket. When I finish my work, I go back. So every month I'm here either 1 week or 4 weeks. So with that little introduction, so I'm as much immersed in always thinking of how can we bring in new solutions, but how can India play a role, both for using it and for global purpose. That's one of the things. For those who are not here, and you are not here when I mentioned that, perhaps this kind of meeting, if we could run in a center, which we are right now working with for last 2 years with the Skills Ministry and NSDC in particular, in partnering with it, so that not only we can bring in AR, VR, and involve the entire country's ecosystem and different devices, etc., but do it at a scale aligned with the model of NSQF and the Sector Skills Council, etc., which you talked about. And that otherwise, okay, it can still be done, but if you want to have the impact, yes. So that's what my thoughts are, and once I switch over, I will not put too much of my thought, but you can't stop, dreaming. And I'm a dreamer, and sometimes to take that dream into reality, you do have to stretch and make it a little bit more simpler to communicate. So if I exaggerate or over-exaggerate, this is purely with the purpose of communicating. And I think I'll just start with 1 2-minute or okay, now I'll skip that part, but okay. Why I want to do that, because this is the end game. How that can I probably let me start with
We've got a flashover at level 3, guys. Effective immediately to rally point.
And you can see on the screen, this is the meeting room, and this is the lobby, which
Okay, let's go. We're going in. We're getting signature from the first floor. Yep, got it. We've got a flashover at level 3, guys. Effective immediately to rally point.
And you can see on the screen, this is the meeting room, and this is the lobby, which is over there.
Hey Sam, do you think we can have these 3 outlets done by tomorrow?
Hey Sam,
Hi, boss.
can you please run a quick inspection of checkpoint 40? I'm getting some inconsistent readings over here.
Let me have a look. I can see an open vault there.
Alright, that's great. Thanks.
I don't like to leave up to all the way. I don't communicate the volume. Fine, so. And I'll be very fast, but if I don't communicate it, it becomes. I think one of the simplest way is to look at it as that technology has been killing jobs and at the same time has been creating new jobs. And that has been happening in around 5 years. And the issue, and many people are talking about it, the United Nations is very switched on. And by the way, the video which I just showed was created by a political student for United Nations. So this video has been used where how AR, VR can create a smart nation. So this, while it's done by political knowledge, global sponsored by UN, which is being used all over the world. That in order to give that 3 billion workers and students opportunities so that they can become more relevant as the time passes. Otherwise, there's a risk of major social upheaval. This is worldwide. And again, if you look at underlying reasons, because the complexity of jobs is increasing with IoT, with artificial intelligence, but at the same time, people able to fulfill those jobs. And this is just a manufacturing sector example in US. Last 10 years, more and more people are becoming jobless because they don't have the right skills. The budgets are going down, the complexity. This is a problem across the world, including school teachers, all over. And if that phenomena continues, we'll have more people just becoming useless and just spend all their time not necessarily engaged in work. And it's not about even if we give them the basic salary, that's the concept being tried out in many countries. Job is more to do with just money, it's purpose, it's the dignity, sense of belonging. So it's very important that the relevance of people in the context of job. So that's one scenario where people are not skilled and become useless, and we give them basic salary so that they can spend more time on interesting entertainment, Facebook work. Or on the other hand, how do we leverage and create a symbiotic relationship between man and machine? And that applies a lot, enhancing, skilling people, whether they are 2.5 billion workers and 1.3 billion students globally. So that's essentially the purpose the company Eon Reality has been working with various different partners to create such capability. I mean, this is among many studies. This is the real data from industrial training. So the corporates who have been using it for different purposes in training the workers, they've said that by far augmented virtual reality is cost effective, reduces the time to train, the impact is much higher. In whichever you look at it, it's a winner in terms of overall education and training. People remember longer, learn better, and make decisions better when they have to make them. You just walk in, ma'am, and you mentioned about the nurses. If they got, I mean, one of the video which also showed about that drill, person who is about to drill, if he's trained well, and not only trained well, actually, I was able to relate it to that injection example. You walked over, there was a good demo, I'll show it to you. But that, if you had that level of training done, then you'll have less of those exam situations which you talked about. So more and more students also, again, this is just a training. Likewise, BBC, all kinds of United Nations have studies on students, even on the primary school students and middle school students in Africa. The dropout is the most by using AR, VR approaches. More retention, more people are staying in the class, their scores, etc. is much better. Many people who are written off because it's like Hindi mein bolte na, the throat is padega. So that part, I think I personally feel a lot, because why do we have lots of people who are extremely brainy? I mean, this is by far, I mean, I can myself feel that one of the dimensions which is lacking in our education system is to be able to do things. I myself, when I migrated to Australia 30+ years ago, probably academically, mathematically skilled, probably I never felt any weakness. But when I came to doing something, buy some tools and do something in my house to fix it, I must say that I felt embarrassed many times buying something, and I would say, well, I have to return it because I got wrong one or I messed it up. I think our dimensions, if I have to say it again in an anecdotal fashion, that our brain is fantastic. If you can use more real stuff like 3D and AR, VR, you will give an extra dimension to Indian brain. I mean, that's my gut feel expressing that, I mean, how I personally experience. But one of the things I feel that to make it happen in scale, this is where, I mean, we have to do it if we want to apply it across the board, and we will make a big difference. Just one anecdotal question I like to ask, and why we don't have to have this debate, but this particular psychological study, and psychologists have said it so well, which with me is, in what dimension do we dream? Do we dream in 2D or do we dream in 3D? I want to ask you this question. How do we dream? And that answers it. Because last 200 plus years, we have been applying educational technology, which has been 2D, right from the book and 2D and online book, online MOOCs, etc. The reality is that is an abstraction of 3D. The best abstraction at that particular time technology is available. And as a result, only people who can abstract it well can learn it well, remember well, apply well, and those who cannot, for them school dropouts, thought, hey, somehow, now think about it. If we really want to make this powerhouse of brains which we have, that particular dimension, if we can edit, because 3D is the most mature. So for first time, for God's sake, we have got something which is aligned to our normal thing. So if we can do that, so I think beyond that point, and particularly everybody here is aligned. So if you find any people who are objecting to this example to me, breaks it. Then how do we dream it, and can we start learning in that fashion? It's bound to be a lot more. This is when I just mentioned what the company has been doing for 20 years.
We need to close this. We are moving way beyond time. So can you?
I really request you for 2-3 more minutes. And if
I get 1 minute, please. Please finish in 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, I think I'll 1 minute. The only thing I have really just run through. I would talk. Eon is a software company, creates a platform, and we integrate all the devices that's delivered in a way which is the center. Not just about devices, but integrating all the systems. And I can talk about a variety of examples which I don't, and probably after this session we can take it forward to that. I'm sure many of them is just the way medical application. So that's where I like to end in terms of when I wanted to show you was the center, which I mentioned earlier, which just opened less than a week ago in Italy. About 10 days ago, one opened. Then there are 25 such centers, and we take bringing all of them together, put software in it. So even though we don't manufacture that software, but nobody else is doing it. This is proven. There's nobody else who's creating this IDC, and around that we have a school which train people, make use of it. This center plays a role in that list, and that brings about. If we were to create one, and we're working with ministry, we can create one in here that can be used for research, development, creating content, leveraging about 8,000 library of education which we have. So I believe that your particular vision that can be applied for globally, that can also be used. So one of the extra dimension which none of the other 25 centers has a potential here. The content created locally can then be given out to the world, because the world has not really taken big leap. So this is an opportunity for India to play creating technology versus the consumer of technology we have in. So with that, I'll leave it here. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lalit. Please allow me to defer the question until after the session. Lalit will be around. So Raman, you have the floor.
Thanks. I think in the interest of time, I'll keep it very brief. And I think the showcases, I'll leave it the last. We also have a demonstration in one of the rooms lined up. So I think if anybody wants to try out, they can do that. So I think I'll stick to the question which is kind of there on paper in front of me, which was the business case for VR in industrial training. So I'll just speak a bit about what we've been doing as a company. We've been in the field for about 5 years, pretty much leveraging VR, AR, MR technologies for industrial training. What we've done is we have worked across a lot of industry sectors, gained a lot of knowledge about how things operate across the various industries, work within India at the grassroots level, understood the problem it really takes, what are the problems being faced by the industries, what are the problems faced by the entire life cycle of people within the industry. And that life cycle actually includes a lot of stakeholders, which is the managers, the senior leadership, the workers, and ultimately, of course, the entire business. So what we've done is we managed to kind of study the entire thing in a lot of detail. We've also started this, the skilling ecosystem. My basic kind of takeaways from a business case perspective is what a real business kind of looks for when it looks at the various use cases or the various business cases. So there are close to 5 kind of parameters which I've listed down, which I would like to kind of talk about. So I think the first one I would talk about is the scale. Scale is the most important part, which I think any company or any ministry or any institution would look at. So if any technology does not really scale, then it will not be that effective. So definitely scale in VR is something which is a challenge. I would say that was one of the biggest challenges when we started interacting with ministry and the HTC back in 2014, when the technology was pretty much at the nascent level in terms of its adoption at the grassroots level. But I think times have changed, and I think we've got a lot of examples to share in which how VR can be scaled. Of course, we can talk in detail about it later. The next point which I would like to mention is the return on investment. That's the biggest question which any business has. The return on investment, the biggest question mark there is that when you're investing so much, and that's the biggest misnomer which people back in the day had as well, that VR is expensive. Well, I would really like to change that, and I would like to mention that if you implement any normal solution, or even if you have a basic IT infrastructure, investment in VR is not that expensive if you look at the entire solution. And a simple example is everybody uses a mobile phone, and we talk about AR adoption being better than and higher than VR. We are spending 50,000-60,000 rupees on a mobile phone as well. So it's not that it's harder to implement AR as well. So that's one example. Another example is VR. Everybody talks about VR is expensive, and we find it very hard to kind of invest in it. A simple computer or laptop, Dell and HP, they're selling it at $1 lakh rupees. A VR experience can run in a PC, which is worth $1 lakh rupees. So I'm just trying to mention that AR and VR, the expense part of it is really just a misnomer. So I think it's high time when people realize that, and I'm very happy that industries around the world are realizing that. The cost of VR is still going down. I remember HTC, of course, we've got folks from HTC here as well. It used to sell at $900 at a point. The cost of that has gone down to $600. And I can already see that going down to $200 eventually as time progresses, and when more technology evolves. And the last of it, I'd like to end this at that point, the competition. The Windows Mixed Reality platform allows a single firmware to be developed by n number of manufacturers. What that means is Samsung, Toshiba, Dell, Fujitsu, Acer, anyone making a computer is making that hardware. The price point is cheaper. It is about $300, $200, $250, $300 the cost of it, which makes it a level battlefield for any player. So it is not even that there are only a few players making it. There are a lot of people now making it. And I believe the reason why I'm saying hardware is because AR, VR is a lock and a key arrangement. Without the hardware, let's face it, it will not work. So I think that's very important for us to also focus upon the hardware part of it. The next part, which I would like to talk about from the business case perspective, is the impact we create. Now, I think we always talk about, yes, VR is leading to less number of incidents happening, more number of, more benefits. It's all qualitative. I think it's high time that VR is used as a tool to study the real quantitative benefits which are created at the grassroots level. And I think that's the biggest thing which any company or any solution can do right now. So I believe that is what the business is looking for. We talk about data analytics, and we talk about data being the new oil driving the business. I believe all the data which you can collect out of VR experience should be actually driving the experiences going forward. So I feel that the technology and the way that things are moving, they will move into the zone when data is absolutely overcoming the actual technology piece of it. So the wow element of seeing a VR and AR experience, that's zero now. I believe everybody has seen VR or AR in some form or the other. Now the industry is yearning for, and the companies and the institutions are yearning for a data-driven insight to be collected from that. And I'm sure NHTC and ministries are of course in the same queue as well. The second last point which I would like to talk about is the ease of technology and adoption. I think adoption has been the biggest success factor for the industry so far. The reason why it is opening up now is that the earlier people used to be kind of not so kind of keen on the idea of kind of wearing or experiencing AR VR. Now, because of the fact that technology has evolved, it is changing. Businesses are also adapting to that, so that's the biggest point. And lastly, I would like to talk about the real sustainability of it. I believe that if you're creating the impact and measuring it, the long-term sustainability is really there, because of course we are talking about saving on a lot of resources, cutting on time and infrastructure to make this happen. So I believe for a longer-term impactful goal for the entire world, the way it is moving, sustainability is something which is a clear winner, and I'm sure these technologies will prove that. So I think that kind of summarizes my talk on the business case for VR. We've got a small video to show, but I think we can run it for about 30 seconds and then I'll take you to you. So this is one of the examples of one of the industrial training activities which you've done for the life sciences sector. Again, you see a person wearing the headset and immersively doing the various tasks in VR, and that's pretty much the essence of what virtual reality learning and training can happen. We've got a very full-scale demo, of course, in one of the rooms. I would love for you, all of you, to try it out, and I think I'll end it at that.
Thank you very much. Is there a question in the audience? Right.
Because most of the students are interested in practical way of learning. We are wasting their time with the concept of others. One of the major things is the delivery difference for the faculty only, the experienced people or a new entry or something. We want a uniformity in the delivery methodology. Whether this technology can reach the grassroots level for training person, if it is how it can.
Great question. I think I'll take that if that's okay to start with. So I think the answer to the question is 100% yes. And I think in your own question, you have the answer there, which you said a VR solution can ensure homogeneity and standardization. And that is the biggest thing which is lacking right now in the system. If a VR solution is, that's the reason why VR is scalable and a repeatable solution, because it can ensure homogeneity and standardization. So to answer the second question in terms of assessments, I think in order for us to create the real-time experience, what we need is the learning, that's one part of it, the adaption, that's the kind of retention of the knowledge, and then the application part of it. Now, if you can automate all of these cycles and also start to evaluate you in VR itself, that is like completing the life cycle of learning and training and application. And I believe tools are now there in VR which can help you do it. So I think definitely this is a case in point which the technology can be utilized at that level. And I think the biggest thing which I'll also mention is that it kind of, there's a question which always gets talked about as well, that if VR does everything, then what does the teacher do? Well, I would like to say that, it's a very common thing now that automation is going to take away jobs. But I must tell you, if automation takes away 80 million jobs away, then the same automation will also lead to creation of 130 million new jobs. So I believe the role of the teacher will evolve, and it's only the complementary part of the technology which will make the entire thing a much more feasible solution as compared to anything else. So I believe the answer to it is yes, the teachers will never go away. It's just that their role will change into being more aware and taking the right decisions, leveraging technology.
Yeah, the main idea is I want the teacher should be a moderator instead of being a
100%. Yes, and I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, trainer. I think VR, AR can replace the teacher, but replacing the trainer, that 20% part still remains.
I'll just give an example of that. 3 days ago, I was with a school called Yishun School in Singapore. The teacher will still use various components and create the lesson and the tools available, which we made it available in the platform, such that almost like a PowerPoint, he can create art, he can create method he wants to teach, and then once he has created it, and it takes 1 hour to create his 45-minute lesson, then he can publish it and get all students, irrespective of whether in a classroom or 30 kilometers away, and then he runs the class, and even then goes into, okay, now I'm going into this section of the art, or this particular part of chemistry, then each student on his phone see where he is going. And if any student wants to interject and say, I want to understand a little bit more, he can stop it. He puts that question, the teacher again can say, okay, let me take you there. So it's almost like creating the classroom, but each student will see on his mobile phone in a AR, VR version with the teacher. So yes, it is being used for education. And while it is in the early phases, but people are beginning to use it.
Because the question why I'm raising is, 50 years before the watch technology, car technology, everything changed. Still the classroom technology is not changed. Again, 50 people, one teacher, or 30 people, one teacher, same situation only came. We are not able to concentrate on one individual. We want the performance of individual candidate to be assessed. One medicine cannot accommodate all the patients. So individual students to be assessed and their right to be into the grant.
I think it is this area where there is also in India somewhere policy intervention, or at least thought process in policy making is important. As we can see, last 7, 8, 10 years, there has been a lot of emphasis, even at the policy level, for something which is visible, which means classroom visible, teacher visible, equipments visible in real life. And there is a good reason why that has been the case. Because if you see before that, even that was not existing. But I think sooner we pass on that phase and leapfrog to this embedded thing, or immersed, it is going to be so much better for India. So blended in an expeditious way, but not totally doing away with that.
Because we are looking for the solution for the university, because we are running a 14,000 ITs across the country.
We always had an example of teacher there, you know, just image of the teacher from movie particular reality.
Because everything is sitting on the only the main space, but it's not going to the ground level. We want to reach the ground level. We want the solution.
The role of the teacher was to ask for the company.
Okay, let me cut that discussion off in the next.
How can I say on my capture the data?
All right. So let's move on to the last speaker, Stafford.
Can I quick answer that? How that can be captured in LMS? So here we are, I was giving you an example. The teacher is teaching and students are asking a question. Student is asking that data can be captured, and this difficulty of that particular student, why he asked which particular path he has to travel through, that can be captured and that can be applied for the data.
And that is one
Sure. And it can be designed both ways. So design KPIs, so you create an adequate workflow, and then after doing that, you can do analysis.
So hello, good afternoon. So I'm Stafford. So I'm a VP of products of HOLOSUIT, which is a company which is in Mysore. So we are a company which is completely manufacturing and doing everything in India, in Mysore itself, in entire city. So we have come up with a product called HOLOSUIT. So like how Apple digitized the 2D screen by using your finger touch, right? That's what Apple brought. And you revolutionized the way we interact with the 2D screen. Similar way, there was a requirement where how do we interact in the 3D world? So that is where a body was left out. So we use joysticks, we use controllers. So we see different type of controllers for different headsets available, and they're not cross-platform. So what we did was we brought a suit which virtualized your whole body from head to toe, including your fingers, where you can touch, feel, and interact with any 3D surface in the virtual world. So where your muscle memory is used instead of any buttons or any other thing, where you pick up certain stuff. So like you said, so we are working with surgeries where we are doing virtual surgeries is possible right away using HOLOSUIT. So I'm going to give you some deep examples of what we have done here. So let me introduce to one of the founder of the company, who is Hashaki Kerry, who used to build robots for Bill Gates. So he was in US, he came back to India with this technology saying, I'm going to do something for India. That is what is his vision. And I was the first person to join him. So I was a professor in engineering college. I finished my PhD. And then I joined him as the first employee of the company. And then from past one and a half year, we are working together. We are doing all these stuff. So here we can see that how we are bringing artificial intelligence, robotics, and everything in VR. So we have developed a robot which is being controlled 100 miles away. You might have seen a film called Avatar. So where a person goes inside a machine, something else comes into life, and he's controlling that robot using his brain. That is the next technology that is called brain-computer interface. So it's not yet evolved that way where we are able to control, but I'm able to control the robot standing here in US and doing all the stuff that I'm doing. The robot does the same thing. Example, I can go inside a firefighting robot, which goes inside, picks up 2 people and comes out. And I'm doing it here, and the robot is doing the same action like walking, picking up the stuff, picking up, doing these things. And everything is real, is done in the virtual reality, where it sees what the robot is seeing. This is one thing that we have done, and it's been demonstrated also in our website. Next part. So this is the technology that we have, and this replaces all these things. So whatever is there, so it replaces every controller, and it is called cross-platform. In the sense, it works on your 2D screen, it works on your Android, it works on your TV, it works on HTC Vive, it works on Oculus Rift, it works on Steam. So every platform we have covered, we give SDKs for that. Direct plug and play. Next. So this is myself. You can see I have virtualized myself. So the other part of your question, right? So what we are already doing it. So we are already virtualizing yourself is the first part. The HOLOSUIT, the other part is virtualize your world. So what we do is we just put down a camera. So where Hashas is one of the person who wrote code for Kynet. So his code runs on Kynet as well as the HoloLens. So he has a full expertise of how to create 3D content as soon as you turn around. And the entire objects is being recognized, whether it is a chair, whether it is a bottle, and the 3D interaction is being made. So we're using the meshes, we are using artificial intelligence, we are using ML agents there, where we create all the objects to be recognized and their shapes, and they complete it. Because when we see it, the back side is not seen. It's not visible. I can only see the front side of you. And the table, only the 2D view of is seen to me. How do I convert it to 3D? This is the kind of algorithm that we have developed where a table is being built, and I can show that all these experience in the demo which is being set up inside this. The next part. So we are into different sectors. One is the health. So we have a very much soft concern with the health, where we are already a subsidiary part with Neuro Rehab. So where we are working out with Neuro Rehab, they're already working with us. Where we, whenever a patient comes with the neurological disorders, some of the parts is paralyzed and is unable to gain strength back. So how do we measure this? So whether he's gaining his strength back or not, what kind of physiotherapy is working out for him, whether he's doing it or not. So, and these therapies are much painful for them. The patient feels so bad that they don't want to do it, that they give up their life saying that, oh, I don't want to do it. The reason is it's so painful. So how do we gamify them? The therapies are gamified for them such a way that they wear the VR glass, they're wearing the HoloSuit, they're walking, they feel that they are in a volcano, they have to get rid of it, they're catching fishes, they're catching some things by using their muscle. And these being monitored after every therapy that they do. So we are creating a omnidirectional treadmill where a person stands in the same place and is walking in all the directions, but still is in the same place. And this is one of the technologies that we are coming up in the future. The other part is, go back. The other part is the sports sector. So we already have Yuvraj Singh as a brand ambassador for this vertical. So where we are digitizing the entire cricket. It's not only about cricket, it's about golf, it's about baseball, it's about any game. So it gives you the full performance analysis, the angles, where your body is, what is your motion, everything. It's not the bat that is doing the thing, it's your body that is doing the thing. When you play cricket, it's not the bat that is hitting the fork, it's your body, your strength, your acceleration, your force, how your body is positioned, where are you putting your weight, everything is being used and calculated and used. So what we are doing here is we are capturing the data of Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, how they play, how do they handle the bouncers. So, and we create a AI which can teach you in virtual reality. There's no need for Rahul Dravid to come and teach you every time. So you can just wear, and his teachings is preserved. He tells you what went wrong, why was this stroke like this, where should have it been done. This is one thing. So what I am is I'm a fifth karate black belt as well as I'm a Commonwealth referee. That is where I met Harsha, because I wanted to do something for karate. That is what my passion. So that is where I am working on, where I'm creating a referee-less karate thing. So where we can actually identify whether the points has been scored without referee, because the technology tells you how the point has been scored. We know how it is to be done and what has to be done, because eyes cannot catch so fast the motion that is being done. So it's very difficult, like fencing, right? The fencing is made automatic. There's no referees to be done on that. That is what is the thing that we are doing on that. The other part is the factory training. So in automation, what we have done is, for example, we have done it for one of the German car companies, also for Indian car companies, so where a new engine is coming to place. So people don't understand how to repair it. It's a new technology. There are 10,000 service stations all around India, and people don't know how to use it. And who are being employed on it? They're not engineers, they're all ITIs. And they only do a particular set of job. They have been trained and they do only that job for their lifetime. That is what their expertise goes into. So what do we do for these people? So we created the engine model, we virtualized. I myself was there in the company. I saw how it used to be done. I took the training on it. I understood what all the details that have to be put so that I can make it much realistic than in the real world. So what we did was we made an entire engine. The engine is being displayed here as a POC, where we can pick up each and every objects, use screwdrivers, use your spanners, tighten the bolts, do all those things. So you know the entire process, how to do it. And when you come to the real world, there is no difference because that engine and what is you're seeing in the VR, both are same. The parts are the same. So they have the full knowledge because, and also we give a reading, like what is your performance analysis that you have done. So because it's a procedure oriented. So we have two different kinds where we call training and practice. So in the training part is procedure oriented, which narrates that you have to do this, and there's a pictorial in different languages. It says pick up this, pick up this, pick up this, and then do this, do this. All the instructions are given. So this way, the learning capability of a person increases and his upskillment goes. So we are also tied up with India Skills already. So we are doing it for animations where we are making the animations much faster. So people take so much of time to do one animation. So what we do is we have created a software which is integrated into the HOLOSUIT. You just have to go and do a hi, and this motion is captured. You can animate it, use it in your films. So this we are talking about with the film directors, also with Disney. So where we are actually doing an animation for Iron Man, the next film. So you can see like what all things we are doing with the help of the suit. So, and the suit doesn't require any trackers. It's a universal controller, which means I can stay here, I can wear the suit, and I can do anything that I want. You don't need to be around the trackers. That is what is the current situation present, where you have to be in the place. The entire motion capture studio is present with the cameras 360-degree capturing you, and it costs like more than 1.5 crores to replace the motion cap studio. So we are coming up with just $2,800, which can actually virtualize your whole body, and it's completely designed, made, and patented in India itself. So we have 4 patents, and also we are international patents on this, and we have applied it all across the world now, and we are shipping it to the other parts of the world. So we are doing a oil rig where you're not only working with the oil, but you're actually going and doing the entire system before you enter the oil rig. Because traveling in the middle of the sea, getting him and training him on the oil rig is such a risky part. So what we do is we create a simulation where you are in the sea, you are in the oil rig, and you have to walk yourself. You're walking, you're doing the same things, you're following the safety procedures. That is very important. So because any small mishap happens, the company is a huge loss, right? It's a very big thing for them. So safety is one concern. So where we are targeted, and we have created a wonderful solution in this in automobile industry as well as in oil rig. And the other part is the chemistry in the learning process. So what we have done is, for example, we are very much well versed with robotics as well as in AI. So what we did was getting these robots from US, getting Kinets from US, getting HoloLens from US. It's also expensive, and we don't have each and every institution to have these things. Some of them might not have tier 2, mainly the tier 2 institutions. Tier 1 might have some accreditations, or if they have some TechCube or fundings, they'll do it. But where in case of the tier 2 cities, that is where the most of the children are coming out. They are the engineers that are present and living in India. All the tier 1, if you see, they're all moving out of India. So that is what is happening. So what we are trying to do is we are targeting all the tier 2 institutions where we give them the entire humanoid robot in the virtual world, where you pick and you place the virtual robot, fix them, program them virtually, and see how it does. What all the functionality you can do on these robots. So the students can learn much faster. The concepts have been taught by Einstein, the concepts have been taught by Newton, the concept of, because we bring them only onto the live, and we give them an AI which teaches them in the same as it is done. So it's like you are seeing it and you are learning. And what all the things, because it's a visualization as well as things we are interacting with it. That is the major part. So you can see, you can also touch, and you can feel these things. That is the important part of it, and you can also experience that. We have done the scuba diving. So we actually recently met Amitabh Bachchan, where we gave him a 75th birthday. We gifted him this through his one of his colleagues. And as well as we are working with A.R. Rahman, where we are making the entire musical instruments virtually. There's a piano in front of you. You don't know, you just move your fingers, the piano, sound of the piano is coming. Shumani is using it for playing drums. So you don't have drums in there, but you are using actually your hands, your beats, everything is being calculated. And it's been done there because we are virtualizing your whole body. And it's all Wi-Fi. So you just have to connect it to Wi-Fi. You are here, you can be somewhere else, and it starts working. And there is zero latency in it. You don't feel any latency across because each finger that you move is being calibrated, and it is being to position such a way that it works across all the platform in a similar way. So, okay, next. Yeah, I think I covered all this. So we are also working with Indian Defense, where the submarine is virtualized. So bringing submarines into the real world, teaching them how the submarine has to be operated before in hand a person goes and learns about the submarine. So he'll know that. So this is where we will show all these things. This is where, once again. So we have different models, and all of these models have been rigged and been brought into it. For example, I stand in the T-post, I take the camera around me, my model is created, we rig it, we make it enabled work with the HOLOSUIT. That's how fast we do it. In just around 30 seconds, we finalize the entire algorithm such a way that it even cleans up the meshes. That is what I think the professor was talking about. So we do that. And so this is the robot you might have seen. So we opened one more institute called Robot Guru, where we couldn't hire people for our company. So we saw that there was a lack of training given about the new technologies that is being present, and they don't know how to do it, how to use it. So we came up with a new concept called Robot Guru, where we train the students. So people from tier 2 cities, one of our students of our intern went into MIT in the 6th semester and is doing as an intern there in MIT Media Labs. And that is one of the things that we have done. So many people from other people are from getting trained here. They're getting much more experience with the mappings, with SLAM. They don't know how to use ROS. They don't know how to use virtual reality. They don't know how to build applications. They don't know how to use machine learning. So all these have to be taught when they are in the engineering or when they are doing their grads. That is where they will think higher when they come out of the college. So if we start teaching them in the lower standard, so we are training them from 8 years. So people in 8 years in our institute know how to do a Python scripting. So we are giving them VR robots where they can code and they see, they make it to move, they make it to say hello. So these are some of the things that they learn at the younger age, just seeing what they can do when they are at the age of their 22 or 23 when they graduate out of the college. The thinking will be much bigger. That is what we have to do. We have to make them go 100 steps ahead of us. So we have struggled. So we have to make our next generation be 100 steps ahead of us. Keep them there, then they'll take it from there. So we should not tell them to learn again yourself. So we have to give them all the technology. This is what is there. Now you have to use these cutting technologies. That's all you have to do. Build more applications on this or make something better than this. This is what the Robot Guru does. So, okay, I think I can cut off, and any other discussions you can have it in my booth. I'll be there, and I'll also give you certain demos about how we are training all the and upskilling the human beings. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so we are actually doing, you might have seen PUBG, right? So many people are very famous with PUBG, you see the game. So what we have done is we are creating hostile situations for this, where they learn how to communicate with each other. That is missing. So you don't get a hostile situation every time. So what we do is we create the hostile situations. We put 5 to 10 policemen together. We make them how to coordinate themselves so that they carry out these kinds of operations in the right way. This is what we're doing for the defense right now.
What's also allowed, then if there is some crime scene creation
Yes, we have planned on this. So we are coming up with one of the rustic apps. You might have heard about it in Delhi. So what we are trying to do with them is we are trying to put drones on them. So we have specialized drones features which will actually charge. So you can see that we are well versed with robotics. So what these drones do is they fly, they capture the surroundings of you, and they come back and charge themselves. So like this, we can understand what is happening. So if there is any, if these cabs keep on running throughout the Delhi every time, and whenever there is an accident or whenever there is a mishap happening, there at least should be one cab present. So we cannot expect every human being to wear a camera and go around. So this is one way that we can solve the problem, and this is what we are looking at. We are also patentizing it. So how we are doing it. So how we are virtualizing the world. So we have the drone, it flies away, it actually creates a mesh, and that entire world is visible to you to work and interact with the HOLOSUIT. So you can actually go and interact with the benches there. So all these things is being demonstrated on the website where you can see what all new technologies and cutting edge things that we are doing in Mysore itself. So any other questions?
Before we end, I'd like to open the floor for a quick question or two for any member of the panel.
Just a quick one, so mobile is great. We all love it. I see we find good signals back in India versus back in US. At least in the remote areas in the US, I used to struggle with my signals. And it's good because they see sparrow, we don't see sparrow. So coming with that background, what kind of we do know all of you are in the business, you talk dollars. But have you thought to would like to be open up saying that, hey, what are the negatives of getting the VR into the mainstream? What are the impacts that you see? Say I see with my grown-up teenager kids, they hardly go out and play. They are always stuck with their iPad, iPhone, and they are more in-house now. It's an in-house generation now.
You mean like couch potatoes?
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to solve in HOLOSUIT. See here, the part is that when you play cricket, your body motion is involved. It's not just WASD or arrow keys that you're using on your keyboard, right? So it's not your fingers that is playing anymore cricket. You have to stand. So you can actually experience cricket and how the ball is going to come to you. So where you actually stand and hit the ball in the right way. If you don't hit, the ball will hit you. So you actually feel like when actually the manager of Virat Kohli played it, he actually jumped off saying that bouncer aa raha hai. Bouncer marta hai. So we can also set the speed. We can also make Shane Warne come and bowl at you at different kind of spins. So we can also create a pitch which actually brings you overs. We know Indians are not doing much better in the outer, but whereas they're doing much better in India. Why? Because they don't have that pitch condition present in India. So we can create that pitch condition in India and the ball come to them in a similar way as in Lords or in Sydney or in any other part of the world, which will upskill their skills. So they know what they are going to face when they're going to Australia or when they're going to India. What kind of ball are they going to be facing? So the batsmen will be updated. So this is a kind of thing that we have to bring in. So this will all take place. So only thing is that we need some time because we are a much smaller team and we are scaling up right now. So we are just 2.5 years old company. So and we are scaling up in a much faster way. We are almost there in 4 times on Forbes. One of the Forbes editor is also a part of the advisor of us. So we are there in US market, we are there in Indian market. We are just globally spread around because of our founder. Thank you.
All right, so let me close the panel with that. Thank you very much.
We're making a small change in the program because I think what we will do is hold the next panel immediately and do the demonstration and post that. So Pradeep, I would request you to. The demonstrations are ready and we can start with that. One of the other things I would add here is that a lot of things have been mentioned. We have a 12-year-old guy telling you what can be done in education and showing that.
Hello. Okay, can I request my panelists to kindly come here? And I promise we will make it very short. We will make it very chatty because we are running very late. So I promise that we will try and do a lot of catching up. The good thing about my media background is that you can have a 10-page article and you can make the entire thing into a box, or you can compress the entire thing into a headline. Okay, so I think it is time here that we start compressing it into a headline, right? So that we can finish it quickly. So who would like to go first? Okay.
So I'll take very less time. You have seen the world is changing so fast, and there's no option but to change. Here we are looking at the VR, AR, but there are other technologies which are changing very fast. So previously it was a VUCA world where everything is volatile, uncertain, and I'm from the skill ministry. At the top of it, technology how to educate them? That's the big question. And we listen from MIT University that for industry 4.0 to succeed in India, they recently moved for education. Now, what type of education is going to be? You have just seen Michael. There will be technology so fast, products so fast, but India is not aware of them. It's like the world where left hand did not know what the right hand is doing. So there is a concept of, we all know, and there are no products of marriage. So marriage happened because there is a complementarity between these. A boy from a different side, a girl from a different side, they marry together and they form a family. Therefore, we feel that there is a necessity and urgent necessity of industry and academia married together. Until unless they marry, the technology involved which we envision, the training which we are looking for acquiring, the education we are trying to give it to the students. Therefore, we started something. Let me give you 3 examples and how it drastically changed the things. We first thought that probably a driver can give you a lessons in driving, and no amount of book can help you. Therefore, we went to the professional body. Let's take an example of the real estate and construction world. So one professional body working in 150 countries is RICS, Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor. We collaborated with them. Being amity, being private is little flexible. So we collaborated with them, allowed these professors to enter into the class, allowed the professor to prepare the curriculum now. So there's a drastically 180 degrees. Instead of academia preparing the curriculum, industry preparing the curriculum. Instead of academia only teaching the students, industry come in classroom and start teaching them. So there is 180 degrees. I am looking to what type of professional produce for the country. I think they are being absorbed not only in India, but in the world. So that was the first experiment. That experiment is running the second year and was very successful. The second, we went to the industry, apex industry body like CII. Oh, you are suffering from India, suffering from logistics and supply chains. Our cost is so high, so we are not competitive in the world market. Can you help us? Let's join hand together. We created CII School of Logistics, where all the experts from the logistics sector had been. They come to the classroom, they created the curriculum and started training the guys. And what happened, my whole batch has been taken with the Flipkart and Walmart and all those. The second is, the third very important incident when we come across Tata, the most important corporate house of India, into the automobile sector. Government wishes to go for electrical vehicle into a big way. But where are the engineers? Where are the engineers? We're talking about the augmented reality, we are talking about the virtual reality, we are talking about the autonomous car, but somebody will prepare that. Autonomous car needs to be driven by somebody else. May not be the driver sitting on the seat, but they might be the software engineer, but somebody will guide them. So who will produce? So with Tata, we created an AIT institution where Tata started. Tata is running the Jaguar and Land Rover company in UP. So from there, they took the models of the virtual reality, come into the classroom at MIT University, and started preparing the engineers. So those type of engineers will take 2 more years to come in the market. But when they come in the market, they will right type of stuff to produce for it. So, a lot of things are happening very, very fast. But probably there is a need to consolidate all those efforts. Government, industry, academia coming together, and then we will be able to face this problem. So my message to the August gathering is, for Industry 4.0 to succeed or to succeed in this world, there is an urgent need for education.
Thank you very much. Over to you.
Yeah, see if I can.
You might have to choose it from the panel.
Yes. Let me try to close in a minute or two, so that we cannot make up last round because we started when we should have finished. So the topic was quality VR education, and we don't have one. There is not one program in India that is providing quality VR education, comprehensive VR education. So I thought I'll just quickly go through some of the things that are required to create a VR program. Of course, the first question when Ramesh asked me to VR education was whether talking about educating people to be experts in VR or educating people using VR. Right? And to some extent, although we're talking about educating, become experts in VR in this manner, to some extent, using VR to educate people or using VR for anything else are good test cases to look at to determine what you need to teach for people to become experts in VR and to do well in VR applications. Right? So I'm not going to go through a bunch of these various applications. But one of the things I kind of felt while I was going through some of these talks was still some confusion about what VR is. Computer graphics have been used for long years for improving visualization, improving and understanding the world in which you're there. Like computer games have been there. I played it, at least for 30 years they've been there. But what VR actually gives you is this experiential component, which I was there, I participated in it, I felt it. That change of your own psychosystem because of your actual presence, your immersion, is what differentiates VR from traditional graphics. The question is, where is that applicable? For example, I had a question which I didn't talk about in the previous panel. You're designing automobiles using VR. But what does VR add to it over computer graphics? Visualization is fine, but do you actually need to trigger a fear response or trigger an emotional response? And when you need to do that, that's when VR becomes very important. On the other hand, in order to get there, in order to create that kind of emotional response, you need to do the traditional computer graphics very well, so that you're fully immersed, right? And for that to happen, this is what I would call traditional computer graphics. There has to be a realistic rendering of all the objects, but then the behavior has to be plausible. You may be there and you may believe that this table looks like a table, but if you sit on it, or if you sit on the chair and it doesn't support your weight, then you're not immersed. Right? So this is something we call contributions like invent words and terms. So sensory motor contingency, where when you look down, you see yourself. When you turn, and until and unless that is respected by the VR environment. In all the VR demos we saw, there was a hanging controller in front of you, instead of your hand. That's immediately going to break immersion. If you're in a VR environment and a real door closes and or opens and shuts, and you hear that, it breaks your immersion. So a full separation from reality and full immersion into virtuality is what is required to trigger those emotional responses. And then there are applications like the kinds of therapy that people were earlier talking about, which work much better than anything else that people have tried. So what that means is that we want to be able to produce images, we want to be able to render directional audio, we want to be able to create haptic and tactile surfaces which provide force feedback, which you can touch and feel its roughness of, its softness of, etc. in all factors. There have been some, it's still quite a research-oriented topic that you can smell things in VR. And remember, if you have an HMD, you can create a new image. If you render a smell, the smell stays. Now, you went out to a different room, that smell is there in the other room also because it's still in your nostrils. So there are lots of challenges that are still being thought about in the research world. But coming to the skill sets, and this is where I'll largely stop. I'll have a couple of slides about detailing out some of those areas that I can leave up there. But these are the broad category of skill sets that you need to impart for people together to pull. I mean, not one person necessarily need to have all these skill sets, but you need to have a team where all these skill sets are available. Experts in setup, the hardware, VR hardware, and there's a lot of traditional, now I say traditional HMDs, like, which don't work in every situation. You need to have systems engineers that kind of go beyond that, in terms of both interaction and in terms of the visualization. Tool creators, which do the rendering, which do the augmentation, some of the things that you talked about in the previous talk, that was tool creation. And then, in fact, this should have gone here, concept designers, the ones who are creating the experience, who are offering the experience. And without a good experience design, all of this, I mean, you've probably seen 3D movies, and they're really crappy. 3D movies, I mean, computer-generated movies. In the last 5 years, they have really become very good. But 10, 15 years back, there were 3D movies, and people were engrossed in them, in spite of the rendering being not good. It was because the story was there. It was, you watch 2D movies, which are clearly less realistic than 3D, but people watch them, people get engrossed in them, people cry, people laugh. So this is probably going up there. And finally, the application programmers, which can use these tools and use the experiences that somebody else has designed and then create the final applications. These are 4 distinct sets of skill sets. And as I said, I'm going to stop there, leave some of the details of the areas that people, I mean, these are probably, I would say, not even full courses, but some of them can be full courses, some of them are probably half a course, are some of the areas that will be required. And with that, I'm going to hand the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. Ramesh, would you like to share your model?
One good thing when you're the last person to say is that most of it has been said. So I'll talk about something which is very specific as an opportunity for India and how to execute that. Just 2 or 3 slides. Before I go to the slides, let me tell you 2 things which I was saying. One is that the big opportunity in India, which all of us have been talking about, is that there is need for skilling. And the need for skilling is suffering right now because we don't have on-the-job training positions. On-the-job training positions also require a lot of consumables to allow you to fail, and even otherwise it requires a lot of consumables. Hence, the business case is not so strong. That is why some of our skilling programs have not been succeeding, despite having the best people who are supporting them, the best people who can be trained. That is where we are suffering. Now, there is also something which we discussed about the loss of jobs, which is coming. Loss of jobs means the skilling for jobs will probably not work. We need to do skilling for livelihoods, which means people create those opportunities themselves. We want to give them that facility to be able to do that. That would come through VR in one very specific way. That is, there is, in HTC, there are probably 1,500 courses which are being run, each one of them being 200, 300 hours. Each one of them can use VR to do a lot more on-the-job training and get a lot better expertise in different environments, while limited to just, for instance, if you're training retail, while limited to Big Bazaar. Why can't we also use Walmart as it is in US? As our friend earlier was saying from HOLOSUIT, that you would be wearing this and you would be working in any one of those environments to get it. So that is an opportunity to create tons of content, which we can consume for ourselves to improve, and we can help the world to consume because they do not have the people to create that. That's the fundamental basis which I thought I need to share. And a model how to implement that, I think Lalit mentioned a very good model earlier, and I'm just going to strengthen that by saying that we have a model which is now being implemented by bringing industry and academia collaboration. There are about 52 labs worldwide in academia which have been set up, which are giving you an opportunity to democratize VR learning and share seats, share knowledge, share professors, and share experiences. Integrating this with entrepreneurship, because we bring the second arm, which is the Virtual Reality Association, VR Association, which has 1,000 VR companies holding 22 sector committees, some of them meeting every second week to discuss and share best practices. This is what is the great opportunity for India to collaborate internationally, benefit in India, and take it back. So I'll just use 2 slides to take that. So this is a VR Center of Excellence model. It's now been implemented, democratizing VR implementation to start even from about 25 lakhs of rupees, go up to 5 crores. It's got elements which integrates R&D, which integrates experience sharing in terms of an experience center where industry comes and see what is really VR. It integrates training, integrates accelerator and a setup for entrepreneurship. These 5 things, depending on pick and choose what you want to implement, are fully supported through this network. It is democratized because there are 400 science parks worldwide which are becoming part of this network, and 8,500 universities. And we are developing training standards, certification standards which will be common and shared by all. So I'm a member of 2 of those committees. In fact, we are planning to release one of the reports here. We are regularly coming out with best practices. I think somebody was mentioning what are the negative impacts with the child playing for hours on this. We come out with those standards also. And we come out also with standards in terms of how to do training, because as I think our friend was rightly saying, we need to integrate various skill sets to be effectively implementing a VR project. It is not just programming, it's not just design, it's equally important, and the most important thing is storytelling. So we bring in all those pieces. Let's bring one slide. Discuss this last. Yeah, next. Next. Yeah. So this is what we are bringing to VR AR and our partner VR First. We've got multidisciplinary project teams approach for skilling, and we've got entrepreneurship opportunities. So we integrate these 2 things in terms of creating an economy, as opposed to just satisfying some opportunities which exist. For time shortage, I would discuss that offline. And thank you so much for coming over, and thank you so much for this.
Just a quick one, like,
so yeah.
Is it like is it just going in the direction of like standardizing like how they want to basically like collate the data for VR as a service, and also like around democratization as well as like the legal aspects?
Yeah, so any standardization and so on, would you like?
Sure, the quick answer is no. But the movements that have started are promising. Hopefully something will come out.
Yeah, just setting up a standards committee, subcommittee under training and education. We had a false start about 2 months back. I was trying to initiate that globally. That committee will be specific in terms of ensuring that there is a common standard. Otherwise, every country is coming out with a standard, and it becomes a challenge to integrate those. So we were also discussing in India, for instance, with our Sector Skill Council, that they should become part of that, so that what we develop for India is accepted worldwide and the certification goes with it. And we've got the founders of working group on VR from IEEE and about 6 different accreditation organizations worldwide were part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Within that standard committee, they have to play a lead role.
That's what we're trying. That's why I said that.
I think many a time that opportunity, because typically we always waited for standards to come from.
This was started by us.
Okay, so since we are sitting on TV debate style stools, therefore let us do it TV debate style, which means that every answer must be less than 1 minute, right? I think that will be the best thing that we can do. So let me start with you, Professor Shiva. VR has been around for the last 40 years. You had these aircraft simulators in the mid-70s. When the early PCs came, they also used to have the smaller version of aircraft simulators. Then, companies like HoloSoft. There have been a number of silicon graphics. When I've had VR demonstrations in the 80s and so on, what really has changed? very quick answer. Marriages has been there since ages, but marriage between industry and academia was not. This has changed everything. Look to Tata. They are running the Land Rover, Jaguar factories in the OND. Now prepare the skill set here. They are using the AR/VR. That was not previously. It is happening because industry and
so there has to be a market demand side of it also. Because, you know, at least about 15 years back, I saw that Everest from, you know, 360 degree view of Everest and so on. So it has been around, but Ramesh, would you like to address?
I would like to take a slightly more commercial angle to this. Why realistic now? That commercial angle was brought about by Google in about 3 years back. This is a VR device. This VR device was distributed free in New York Times. I think 1 million or 5 million sets of these were distributed. And you could use this to get the VR experience on your phone, smartphones. So that has opened up the industry to say, hey, there is a huge potential for this. And I think Lalit is showing an equally powerful device, which is just that.
And this is a simplified version of this turned into a
this means, you know,
VR
the
device.
commercial case for mass adoption. It also means that the content costs which are coming in terms of, you know, developing that content can now be used over many more users. Therefore, the net cost.
So, you know, is the cost also a factor in terms of the various technologies that become cheaper, and by what sort of a factor? And how many years do you think it will become absolutely mainstream?
I think it has become mainstream. So it's not the future. It's when we're talking about 220 million headsets being sold in 2021, I think that we would call mainstream. I think it's not quite right to say that some things have changed. It's been an evolution. What you're talking about are probably not even VR examples. Just rendering 3D graphics, typing them. VR has been there. My PhD was at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. It was one of the pioneers 30 years ago. They were building HMDs in-house because nobody was building. But over time, the technology has developed, and mobile phone has been the biggest change, and this has essentially piled on top of it. So to think that it's going to now take off is probably, I think it won't. If you think it has not taken off, it won't.
So, you know, coming to the business part of it, you know, we were very successful as far as the software export industry was concerned. And, you know, we created absolutely new companies. We became global leaders in that area. But there have been a number of technology waves that we have missed. For example, mobile. You know, huge number of mobiles, yes, in India in terms of usage, but we don't really control the technology. The Chinese are controlling the technology. 5G is around the corner and so on. So therefore, starting with you, Ramesh, what needs to change for us to be able to take a leadership in this area? Or is it too late?
I think I covered this right in my initial thing. Not there, but I'll repeat. The opportunity is that we need to look at the applications which are going to be consumed in India for education, for training, for others, and the devices will fall in place. And we have, as we have seen from HOLOSUIT and others, and I would have brought in 3 or 4 other very good companies, that we have the capability to be the best, but we do not have today a market to be the best. So once we show that market to be the best, we will develop our own. We will challenge the Chinese. or right now there's no more American companies producing it, but they're producing the brain power, so we will produce the brain power and we can equally well produce the devices.
I'd like to add, opportunities, new opportunities. Let's look to the demographics. When the world is developed, world is aging very, very fast. India is coming up younger and younger and younger. Let me give you a data. By 2020, it is not far. There will be a shortage of 57 million people around the world to run their companies. And India at the same time will be supplied by 46 million. The problem is only that these 46 million are not trained to the global standards. So this is a humongous opportunity. So far we have seen that IT people has gone across the world and run companies. No, probably India will be the center and then be running the whole of the world. This opportunity was not there. This has come now. Let's be right.
So, huge potential, and you talked about that. Which one is the bigger one? Use of AI for educating elsewhere, or training of AI professionals? Again, in the next, let's say, 4 or 5 years.
I've got to say that I cannot put one over the other. Both in terms of VR professionals, ones who will provide the VR applications, there's a huge market. But then using VR to educate is another massive market. Possibly. I'm not able to speculate which one is bigger. That's why.
So where is Amity putting its budget? No. Answer this question. Where are you putting your budget? Are you having VR courses, or are you actually preparing content which can be used in terms of parting education elsewhere?
First, we have started with the content. With automobile engineering and aeronautical engineering. Now we are expanding to the research. Because we very well understand the opportunities are 24. Look to Bangalore, 56% of the global research sector are located at Bangalore. So research and innovation is 1/4 where MD is going to put their budget. They are coming up with university at Bangalore. And the budget, and there is looking at that skilling. And when I come to the skilling, please correct me if I'm wrong. My feeling is that Industry 4.0 movement, lower skilled jobs will vanish, but higher skilled jobs will emerge. If it is so, Government of India needs to correct its policy of this. Knowledge and skilling cannot happen separately. It has to be happen together. We have to leap from knowledge world to competency. And this is the area we are coming in. So Amity is coming with this education 4.0 with a competency-based education and not knowledge.
Yeah, so that's where the focus is in terms of education 4.0. I open the panel to questions from the audience. So if you have specific questions, please go ahead and ask. And again, I would request that the question should not exceed 1 minute. Yeah.
And particularly, Professor, you talked about different roles and AR, VR. I was wondering whether you think that the growth is in VR or is in AR, because lots more people are talking about it, industry analysts. And so far, it is 80% business is in VR and 20% is AR. But moving forward, because of the point you mentioned, phone, it's more likely that it would reverse in 5 years' time. 80% would be AR rather than VR. And because of IoT, cloud, and AI, more and more than justification has been given with mobile as a realization. What's your view on that?
Where have you got this data that 80% is VR and 20% is AR?
The overall market pie today, last 5 years, has been more, it was predominantly VR, but now AR is increasing and the market share which is also.
Okay, I mean, that's a surprise to me, actually.
And mostly they are saying that it is because of this phone, which would be the trigger factor, mobile phone, which is the trigger factor for AR, particularly AR to take off.
Again, I have to say that it already has been a trigger factor. And AR, and the applications are very different. VR and AR are different sets of applications. They have their own place. And I think AR to some extent is easier because of the fact that half of the thing, or at least a fraction of the thing, is already there in front of you. VR is a little harder because there is a bit more of offering required. The entire model set has to be created. So small amounts of augmentation is the easiest thing to do. And hence, I'm very surprised that you're saying that. Again, some of these statistics don't really reveal what they're calling AR and what they're calling VR because it's a spectrum. So my short answer is, I would say 50.
What's your number?
I'd like to share three things, and I go with what Lalit is saying. Numbers. Actually, VR/AR Association has 3 research groups working regularly on VR/AR industry, and one or the other comes out with a monthly report based on this basis. And the indications are, the positive indication is that the numbers have been predicted 2 years back. We are getting closer to those numbers. The last month's report, when I was reading through before coming here, was trying to show that, AR is suddenly going to take off in a big way in terms of the lower end of the market because of areas like virtual servicing, virtual collaboration through the phone. It's becoming a lot more powerful in terms of delivering ROI. But AR at the same time at the higher end in terms of the HoloLens or in terms of mixed reality, which is still maturing, it will take a lot more time. VR, because of the cost, was difficult earlier, but since others were not there, so that was the main market. That percentage is coming down, not that the VR market is coming down. So we can share these numbers, and that should be one of the incentives to join VR/AR.
At that note, a round of applause for the panelists, please. And may I request Mr. Rajesh Agarwal to say a few words on what he thinks the government is doing and should be doing in this specific area. You've driven IT in so many different places. He was the person who, when he was in Maharashtra, ensured that the information technology transformation happened there. He was the architect of the Jan Dhan Yojana, and therefore I think your views on this area, and today you are driving skills, so usage of the virtual reality and AR in terms of skills is something that I think the audience here would be very interested.
Tell us what more to do next time so that
So,
your expectations.
So for me, as usual, this caught me. And so 2 points. One, we are trying to create a tech sector, skill sector, just like game for payment sector. Spent the time in Bangalore on Tuesday with Pramod Verma, who architected the UID thing. To only work on this. So there, obviously, we can plug in the VR standards for teaching, for data sharing. That will be very useful. For example, credit framework. If you automotive course, we have a VR or AR thing for testing, also teaching and testing. How can I give 10 marks out of 100 based on that data coming from the system? So those interesting. Second, as you both said, VR for education and educating for VR. I saw a very good example of this in Bhubaneswar yesterday evening at Centurion University. So I met about 50 kids, half were girls. 30 third year Vive students in Centurion University. So one kid I met, he just had got a check of 60,000 rupees from Chandrababu Naidu for actually designing a VR solution for farmers in Andhra on quality. It was a pleasure to meet the boy. Second, they were experts in Unity and Katya, etc., to really create beautiful models. For example, they have now got a manufacturing order of 60 e-rickshaws for OMFED, Odisha Milk Federation. So the kids do everything. They were designing the e-rickshaw model on the software, all the components. They were testing the electrical system, mechanical systems. Loha ज़्यादा न लगाएं, कम से कम लगाएं, steel is stable. They were actually printing plastic pieces in 3D printer, doing that entire simulation. And they asked one boy कि यार इसमें अगर उसने कैन ज़्यादा भर दिया और वो गर्म पे होगी तो पलटेगी तो नहीं. They could actually tell me कि सर हम center of gravity ऐसा देखते हैं. That's how we designed it. This is Vive third year kid. So it was fantastic to see all these kids, and so they were working on the whole chain of industry 4.0, using VR for educating, and actually in that sense, 3D printing, cyber physical systems, everything was being designed put together. And it is just like, for example, to design a new car, you might need a whole R&D system of maybe $1 billion. These guys sitting there are designing e-rickshaws, much smaller, but going through the whole steps of the entire chain of the manufacturing process. So that's where the future is, and I think our kids are very bright, and we are in safe, not the other way. Thank you.
One advantage of calling him is you don't need any other country.
I would just like to conclude this session and so that we can move to demonstrations and lunch by thanking everybody who's here, particularly Hitaji, Narwal Sahab, Lalit, come from Singapore, Sunil, Ashok, and all of you participating. Without you, there is no point in our standing on this side of the table. I must not forget the support which we have got from the Expedia team, and as they say, Ghar ki murgi dal barabar. The support which I got from Ren projects where my daughter helped in all the logistics aspects, I must thank them also. And Pehel, which has been the sponsors for the lunch, and Expedia took care, and the demonstrations were on very short notice they came. And Subodhji, I always count on, no matter what the change is, I request him to be part of it. Sometimes I say that with authority because I'm the senior person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.